Good evening, everybody. It is November 20th, about 6:30. We're a little late, sorry. This is a regularly scheduled meeting of the School Committee of Wareham, and we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The meeting is being recorded by WCTV and our colleague, Mr. Day, and it is also being recorded, audio recording, by Jamie Wixton and her always valuable notes. We will start with some good news.
I'll start. I just want to thank Dr. Chandler for inviting us to the open house at the McDuffie Educational Center. I'm looking for her, but I don't see her. It was a really great event. It's amazing what they've done to that building, the transformation, and it's really exciting to think, first of all, for the students who are already in there. We got to see them coming in for class, and you know, for the possibilities for that building. So thank you for that invitation. And then, of course, I have to mention my friends on the unified basketball team because they ended their season. My friend Alton, who's the co-captain of the team, he sent me an email and asked me to make sure I mention a few things at the school committee meeting. So he wanted me to know that the team scored 83 points in one game.
Wow.
And that was the most points that they had scored in a game. Of course, he scored 29 points in that game. He didn't want me to share that part, but of course I had to. And then I attended the Unified Basketball Jamboree at Durfee High School, where there were 6 or 8 teams all playing against each other. And we were in the audience and watching this guy walking around with bare feet. I'm like, who is this guy? Like, who walking around with bare feet? Well, it was Matt Collis from the Patriots. Of course, I didn't know that.
Oh, he's my favorite.
So the kids got to interact with him, take pictures with him. It was really, really exciting for the kids. He was really great. So that was another great day for them. And then I want to go back to, Matt, you had mentioned at a previous meeting that the high school has been made a unified champion school, right? So you said that, and I've heard that about other schools, and I didn't know what it meant. So I looked it up, and the components of being a champion school is that you have, that you have inclusive sports, which of course we have, inclusive youth leadership, and whole school engagement. So it's really, it just makes me, I'm already proud to be part of that, but it just makes me really proud. That's not just the basketball team, it's not just the track team, it's the whole school, it's the culture at Wareham High School and in all of our schools. So I just wanted to make sure everyone understood what that meant and just say that I'm really proud to be a part of that.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Yes, Matt.
Congratulations to Wareham High School senior Ava Knight. Sorry. She's a JROTC student, and she was presented with the Legion of Valor Bronze Cross today by Matt Stanton. The award is given to JROTC cadets who demonstrate outstanding performance, dependability, exceptional character, adherence to military discipline, and leadership ability. She was, she's one of 75 JROTC cadets selected this year from over 3,390 JROTC programs around the world. So congratulations
That's awesome.
to Ava. And I also wanted to say that the Wareham Middle School Chorus will be performing at the Providence Bruins tomorrow night. So good luck to them.
Yes. Anybody else? Yes.
Just this article in the Wareham Week about Emily Lowe. I guess she was a student here, and she's published a book, a poetry book.
Poetry? Yeah.
So just,
We ought to get the poetry club, okay, to invite her. The poetry club already does good things. She would be an inspiration, I'm sure.
there you go.
I would be remiss if I didn't welcome again to Dr. Amy Hartley Madison. She is She is right there. Stand up, Amy, so everybody knows who we're talking about. Amy will be starting on July 1st of next year. She's already proving that she can handle long days. She spent the entire morning with our budget workshop, then ran back to Randolph to solve a problem, and now she's back here for our meeting, so thank you for being here. Okay, I guess we can move on to public participation. Is there anybody here who would like to address the committee? Please. Just state your name, please.
Evening. My name is Jared Chadwick.
Hi.
Just have something quick to say. My name is Jared Chadwick. I am a select board member for the town of Wareham, and I'm also a liaison to the school committee. I know you might not see me often, but my phone is always on, and I do talk to people here quite often. And I do talk to teachers and educators quite often as well. Where am I? Sorry. But tonight I'm here as a parent of a Wareham High School student and an Upper Cape Tech student. Recently, I obtained a copy of a draft of a policy that will be introduced later on this evening. I would like to make one recommendation to this draft. Under CTE tour, I would recommend that a tour will take place before December 1st of each year, allowing students to think about their future and apply before the cutoff date of January 5th, of UCT's January 5th. As many of you know, I am always and will always be a proud supporter of the Wareham Public School System. I just want every child to have every opportunity that I didn't have growing up. And that's it.
I greatly appreciate you being here tonight.
Thank you.
Student representative report. I don't think we stole any of your thunder tonight.
No, I haven't been here in a while, so I'm going to start off with recapping our fall sports. Our volleyball team, we were number 22 or 23 in our Division 4. Unfortunately, we lost in the first round, but we were still able to make it to that game, and it was really good to close out the season. We played our best, even though we lost. We had to drive 3.5 hours away, but it was definitely worth it to play one last time. And the boys soccer also made it to tournament. They got their playing game, unfortunately lost as well, but it's still good to see sports coming together and making it as far as they do. Football has their last game on Thanksgiving, and winter sports start after Thanksgiving. Moving on to clubs, our DECA club this weekend had our craft fair with over 50 vendors. Many people came, worked very hard. I worked on a lot of the behind the scenes with that, and it is really good and puts into perspective the work that we do, and seeing it reach out to the community and everything. Along with that, more fun things are happening as the holiday season coming on. Our powder puff practices has start, so our juniors and seniors girls play flag football against Old Rochester junior and senior girls, and I'm personally very excited, and I think seeing it in the school, people's spirit after all these sports seasons really good. And other than that, there's not many major things that I've heard. If there's anything specific you want me to look out for, and let me know for future updates. And then I have a lot of homework to do, so I was planning to leave around 7:30ish. I won't say anything, but I'll just walk out. And so that I don't wanna interrupt. But if there's, I figured I'd stay for a little bit while I can, because I haven't been here in a while.
If we have lots of questions, we have to get them in by 7:30, right?
Yeah, think of as many as you can. There you go. You got that.
So
You don't want to offer that to Jeff.
my first question is, I think flag football should replace regular football. Can you do that for me? Can you make that happen?
No promises.
Okay, smart answer. Okay, thank you. Great to have you here. We have 3 minutes related to May 1st, May 19th, and May 29th, on which we need to vote. I will take motions, although I do have one correction to May 1st, but I will take motions for individually, or we can do them together once we have resolved what edits, if any, to make.
Motion to approve minutes as a consent item.
Okay, then, I'm looking at May 1st, Jamie. On the second page, it's under class of 2026 senior prom. Oh, yeah, I was referred to twice. I asked the question, that's of course correct, but then it said I also stated that there is a lot of fundraising. It probably should have been Mr. Palladino who said there was lots of fundraising, unless he wants to say he never said that. Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, so with that edit, I have a motion. Do I have a second for the approval of all 3 minutes?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Opposed, abstained, 401. Thank you very much. Matt, annual strategic plan vote.
Correct. So we have our teams from each of the schools here to present their plans. And we would like to start with the, first of all, I want to say thank you to all of them for all the work they've done. It's been a long day for the principals especially, but thank you to their teams and the work they've done on this. So thank you for them for being here and the work they've done. And I would like it, Mr. Chairman, if we could begin with the high school. We'll begin with the middle school.
We see who's controlling things. Okay. Okay.
We thought we'd spice it up a little. Begin in the middle.
It's wonderful to see you all, and thank you for giving up a portion of your evenings to be here.
This is really my favorite night of
I
the
know,
year.
I know, when we get to see, yes.
You get to see it in person now, Sue. You don't have to watch from home on TV.
Our strategic plan is actually up in June of 2026, so we do have a heavy business to work on a strategic plan. I'm assuming school committee might want to wait until we have a new superintendent in place.
We did also actually already talk about that.
Oh, good.
And Dr. DeAndrea and I decided that was a smart move.
Awesome. We are eager to receive a new district strategic plan. Ours has definitely served us well, but we're ready to update it or change it. Wareham Middle School has the results of last year's their school improvement plans to present.
Good evening, school committee. My name is Sarah Russo, and I am the principal of Wareham Middle School. And I would like to take just a moment to say thank you to the Wareham Middle School School Council and to the Wareham Middle School school faculty for their invaluable input and significant contributions to our Wareham Middle School school improvement plan. This plan has been a collaborative effort. And as you will see in the slides to come, there's multiple evidence-based goals that align with our district strategic plan. At this time, I'd like, we're going to go through and just introduce ourselves. So, Ms. Breeze?
Sure. I'm Mrs. Breeze. I'm the English Language Arts Department Chair at the middle school.
Hi, I'm Andrea Erickson, Unified Arts Department Chair.
I'm Catherine Frayne, the Assistant Principal of Special Education.
I'm Dan LaFever, Assistant Principal.
Sue Tabor, the Science and Social Studies Department Chair.
So at this time, we're going to go and review the results from our 2024-2025 school improvement plan, and we're going to begin with our ELA with Ms. Breeze.
So our goal was to improve across the 2023-2025 cycles, demonstrating positive growth towards writing. We made grade level progress in all grades, with grade 5 still being in progress. Grade 6 and 7 met. we had instructional growth as a result of DESI's scoring workshop to improve consistency in our scoring alignment. We met routinely with students engaging them in their own growth and strengthening their written expression skills. As a building, we collaborated regularly with cross-curricular teams to share strategies, rubrics, and common areas of focus to support student writing growth. Overall, for our first goal, the ELA goal, we made substantial progress towards the writing improvement goal.
Okay, and I will be presenting for the mathematics. The overall goal for the mathematics was for all students to demonstrate growth in answering math constructed responses by 10%. We have various results here from MET to in progress. For math constructed responses growth from 2024 to 2025, our fifth grade is in progress. We did have a 6% increase. Our sixth grade was met. We had a 19% increase in sixth grade, and our seventh grade is also in progress. We did have a small decrease there. The work that went to support this was we had committees that were comprised of administrators, special education teachers, and math teachers that examined testing and current intervention data and proposed to redesign intervention blocks, and those are our Viking blocks you've heard me speak about. Administrators and special ed teachers and math teachers attended data meetings by grade levels and focus groups. Administrators and special education teachers, math teachers realigned curriculum and pacing guides based on the results from the previous year, and then they combined that with NUIA data to develop their curriculum. And then, of course, all staff attended ASCD training that was provided for by the district. The next objective that we met was that special education teachers attended math data meetings to understand Rust. And that's an organizer that we use in mathematics to help us write. There was a committee comprised of administrators, special ed teachers, our math teachers, and it was formed and they met to analyze special education data and suggestions for implementing strategies to improve students' ability to gain those standards. The special education teachers and the math teachers taught and assessed the Rust graphic organizer. So this was an organizer that they actually used in the mathematics class for students.
Tracy, would you object if we had questions after each speaker had finished?
It's up to you, Mr. Chair.
I know it's theoretically up to me,
What
but
you would prefer, I thought we would have questions at the end of each school's presentation, but it's completely up to you.
That's your preference?
I don't know what the team's preference, the preference of the group, I guess.
Okay,
Thank you.
continue, Kath. Oh, sorry.
So our science goal this year was based around preparing our students for the new changes in the science MCAS. So the science MCAS is moving towards a performance-based, a performance assessment model, in which this year in 5th and 8th grade, which is when the students take their MCAS for science, 50% of the test was performance-based assessments, which DESI is moving towards with the goal of not this year, but next year, moving to 100% performance assessments. So we moved through the model of, I went through DESI's ambassador training, which is a train-the-trainer model. I then moved and met with all the science teachers in grades 5, 6, 7, and 8, explained the new changes, what it looks like. DESI has released some tasks that, for students that are live tasks, local tasks that you can use in classrooms. And my teachers developed, they're typically using lab simulations through PhET labs where students are generating their own data and questions as opposed to recalling information. It's more science application than content. We used our science department time to put lab simulations in at least 3 units last year to work with them, the students through them, and then we looked at our data from benchmarks to see how that compared with some of our old testing. And then in STEAM classes, we went through and explicitly taught one of the tasks that relates to STEAM and went through the how to take it and how to look at it as opposed to just this is what it's going to be. We're still working on that model, but we did meet all of those goals. I met with all my teachers, including the high school teachers who came over and have become invested in making that transition. So that was thought we were successful, and our students have now gone through at least 3 simulations at each grade level, and by the time they get to this year's 7th graders will be the 8th graders that have that first test. They will have then had a 6th grade experience with it, 7th grade, and should be very ready as they continue through 8th grade.
And so for our next standard, Mr. LaFavor and I worked on this together. Our social, emotional, and school climate goal was to increase students' time on learning through social, emotional strategy building and positive climate promotion. Student discipline referrals and chronic absenteeism will decrease. We met our goals and we accomplished a lot last year. Our counselors, the BCBA, and teachers collaborated to design individual classroom behavior plans, and these plans are posted in every classroom and provide students with clear expectations and consistent support. We implemented a school-wide PBIS ticket system. Guidance counselors on the PBIS committee continues to strengthen the ticket reward program, where students earn tickets for demonstrating positive behavior. And the tickets are entered into a raffle, and students win special rewards, helping to reinforce positive choice and build school-wide morale. And kids got things like group games and lunch line fast passes where they could cut in line at lunch. We also used data to identify and address student needs. Counselors, BCBA, and teachers regularly reviewed key data points, including attendance, grades, and student survey results, and this allowed us to respond proactively to emerging trends and personalized support for students who needed it. And we also strengthened our support with high-need students. Our counselors, BCBA, and special education teachers met consistently to coordinate targeted interventions, and this collaboration helped ensure that our highest need students received consistent and well-coordinated support.
All right. Evaluators and admin met with all classroom teachers. We helped them develop classroom management plans. We coached them. We provided tips. And also provided tips for, whole class management as well as working with individual students. Professional and instructional goals were designed to align with our school-wide priorities. So evaluators met with all staff to help them develop goals aligned with the school-wide priorities. New staff continued and they participated in RBT, Research for Better Teaching. They completed that course. And when we will go through as evaluators, we see it implemented in the classrooms. We met and we maintained our school-wide non-negotiables to ensure consistency across classrooms. They're implemented daily in all classrooms.
Hi, how are you tonight? I'm going to be presenting on the special ed goal. Last year, we were mandated by the state to implement the new IEP model that was enforced by DESE. So one of the things that we really wanted to do was develop procedures and protocols that could support the new IEP and support teachers in understanding the new IEP and writing them, and also supporting students in getting their voice in the IEP, along with helping parents understand what this new format was, because it looks drastically different than the original. So we identified 4 trainers in the building who can write exemplary IEPs. We trained them on the new IEP model, and then we used a train the trainer model within the school, where they were able to meet with teachers individually and work with them, and develop these new exemplars that we would need in the building. We had developed exemplar IEPs for every model in the school, a TLC, an ISD room, a learning center, inclusion. We anonymized those exemplars, obviously, and then shared them with the staff so that they had a model to use. And this will continue as we are getting more insight from DESE on some of the insights they're giving us about how they'd like us to update it. And we've identified some areas of improvement for ourselves this year as well.
And And Wareham Middle School has developed their school improvement plan for 25-26.
So, Ms. Breeze, if you may start with our ELA.
So for ELA, we want to continue the writing goal. Although we had significant growth and progress made, we want to continue to ensure consistent growth within written expression. MCAS writing components for approximately a third of their overall score, making it a critical area for improving overall student performance. And while our growth trends are positive, the number of students meeting or exceeding remains below our target. Beyond assessment results, effective writing is a fundamental life skill, and the ability to communicate clearly is essential for success in high school, college careers. And we want to ensure that we're allowing our students to be prepared with these skills beyond middle school.
For this year, for the mathematics goal, it is going to remain the same. It's in place as the same as last year because we saw a lot of growth last year. When you look at our school and the student growth compared to the state, in 2 of the 3 grades, we outperformed the state for student growth. So we feel like we've found our footing and we want to continue with this and see these strategies through because we feel like they are making a difference. So our goal continues to be for this year that all students will demonstrate continued growth in answering math constructed responses by 10%. We're going to continue to work with our Russ graphic organizer, but another piece that we've added in as a resource this year is our IXL math, and IXL aligns with NUIA. The 2 programs talk to each other. So our math teachers are able to cross-analyze data, both from NUIA and from IXL, to inform their instruction. When we first did this at the beginning of the year, it was interesting to see the data and how it all aligned. So that's a resource this year that we're adding to this.
In science, we're continuing to work on meeting. First, I've already met with the new science teachers. We have 2 new science teachers and got them on board with using simulations and problem-based performance assessments in the regular classroom so that when it becomes MCAS time, they're familiar with the process. We've introduced the students to the DESI rubric this year to align. We've gotten through the function of using them, and now it's more that independent use. I plan to meet again with the 8th grade teachers to vertically connect the work that we're doing because the 8th grade science MCAS is embodied with their learning from 6th grade, 7th grade. It's 3 years worth of science content. So it makes sense to move that forward. And we're beginning to look at moving it more to be student-centered as opposed to that teaching the process. We've kind of moving that next step to making it something they're comfortable with. And so when they see it come test time, it's old hat. I already see it. If I say, oh, simulator, they know it's a familiar, or if it's a story, they're back to thinking of how to apply science as opposed to, give you facts back. So we're working on continuing our growth in that area.
For social emotional, I worked on this goal with Ms. Erickson. We're looking at to increase students' time on learning through social emotional strategy building and positive climate promotion. Student discipline referrals will decrease, chronic absenteeism will decrease, and teacher satisfaction on this indicator will improve by 10%. And objectively, we're going to continue to evaluate, coach, and provide support to all staff members, ensure consistent implementation of behavior plans across classrooms, meet with teachers needing support in classroom management, collaborate with BCBA counselors and special educators to support high-need students, analyze attendance data to identify and address student concerns. We regularly will continue to communicate with families and medical professionals, and we will promote and reinforce daily on-time attendance, providing clear and consistent consequences for tardiness and absenteeism.
And in addition, counselors, the BCBA, and teachers will implement 504 and IEP accommodations related to behavior as needed, participate in parent conferences to address student needs, collaborate with counselors and the BCBA to support students with behavioral challenges. Teachers will also observe model classrooms to support instructional and behavioral practices and to learn from one another. And counselors and the school nurse will collaborate with families and medical providers to coordinate care and to support attendance.
All right, I'm going to continue working on the IEP new form. The goal of any implementation is that it becomes self-sustaining, and so that's our goal this year, is can we train enough staff to be able to support our new teachers who've income this year so that they don't need directly my help anymore, that they can help each other, and that they can also help parents, which I think is really the most important part. So we want to identify some areas such as present levels of educational performance, which the state has identified as an area that needs to be improved across the board when they looked at some of our new IEPs, as well as transition planning, which I think can be reinforced by some of the new things that we're working on as a school right now. And we also plan to put forth some new exemplars and resources that we've put together for our new teachers that we pass out now at our staff meetings, our curriculum meetings, and that we model for our staff during those curriculum meetings as well.
We good, Dr. Russo? I think so. All right. I think they're ready for your questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Did you have any questions for this wonderful staff?
I do not.
Okay. Yes, April.
So I just have two. First, as someone who has had lunch duty at the middle school, I think that the fast passes as a prize is the most genius reward I have ever heard of.
And they love it.
Yeah, I can imagine. Especially on like pizza day and chicken nuggets. I get it. So my one question is, does the 8th grade MCAS still fall under the middle schools? Because, you know, statistically, in most places, 8th grade is still in the middle school. So I didn't know if it affected more of, so it is now pushed over to the high school because you had mentioned that you were training.
Their content for science, 5th grade has a test which is content from 3rd grade science, 4th grade science, and 5th grade science. And then 8th grade has content from 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade. It counts in the schools that the 5th and the 8th are housed in.
Okay, that was my question. Thank you. That's it. That's
All
all I
set? Joyce?
So, sorry, first of all, you're talking about science. I just want to say, anytime there's communication between schools, that kind of vertical connection is great. And I'm sure that's not the only place that happens, but I love to hear that. The IEP, has the new IEP been an improvement?
I think it's been an adjustment, and I think that I definitely think there's some pros. I love the part where there's now, it used to just be that after 14, you have a say in the IEP, like you get a voice in it, but now we have a voice all the way down to preschool where they get to contribute what they want to learn, and we've really tried to meet the needs of even our nonverbal students and getting them to participate in the IEP process, which I think is so important, especially at the middle school level. So I'd say that part's an improvement. I think it's an adjustment just for us, and I also think it's an adjustment for families. Some of them have had IEPs their entire career. Their children have been here, and now they're looking at a document that looks very different. So it was really important to us that we train our teachers in explaining that to parents so that they feel supported and they know what they're signing on to and they know what they're agreeing to.
My other question is about the data. So a lot of times under data, it says MCAS results, MCAS data, right? So, and I understand that MCAS is a very valuable tool. But do you see the same results? Like if a student has a certain result on the MCAS, is that the same as their achievement in the classroom? Do you see those? Or is it often different?
I think it's different.
Yeah.
I think when you're looking at MCAS, it depends. Our students, sorry. I think it's different. MCAS is 2 days, you
Right.
know. So it could be a really bad morning and it could be a really bad first day and a great second day. But I have them 178 other days that could be really good.
So and for this purpose, you're using MCAS data to measure, well, because that's what the state is doing, right? But when you're doing that at your school level, do you use all of that information?
Yeah, so I can speak to writing. It's part of what we do. We have writing portfolios in our classrooms, and I've actually, you like vertical, I shared with Mike. He came over and met with
Oh,
me,
good.
and sharing with the high school. So we meet with them, we show them their growth throughout the year. Mrs. Cote has been known right before MCAS to share those portfolios with students in her office that she looks at it too. So it's certainly more than MCAS, and it's certainly more types of writing than MCAS assesses.
Okay.
Other subjects.
I would also have to say that not only do we use MCAS, we use the NUIA data and like the IXL data. And I myself have met with students for the baseline NUIA data. And it's interesting because you can actually show them a graph that is a great visual for a student to see. And it helps them understand what their goal is, what they're trying to achieve, what mark do they want to be at. So it's nice to have those tabletop conversations with a student and let them help choose where their goal is going to be at.
Right, right. It's just that, like, so for a student, their goal is to do well on that testing, but they're out, and then to do well in school the other 176 days, right? That's, I guess, what I was asking. And then the only thing I want to say is that I'm looking for the wording on here, and I can't find it right now, but something about maintaining consistent expectations throughout the school every day, which I think is really, really so important. So good for you for having that expectation.
So I noticed like in the math and the ELA, you both said your hope was to increase by 10%. Is that, you mean percentage of students scoring proficient? What was the measurement there for both math and ELA?
So our, when we look at what report is it, standards? We focus on the standards on, like the MCAS, it's like CU 306, I don't know the report. But we break it down. So I look at, or we look at all, for fifth grade, for example, we look at their scores on all items, but then we focused on writing. So we looked at where they were versus the state as like a number. For instance, in 2021, or 2022, we'll go after COVID, we were -5 behind the state. But this past year, we were 3 above the state. So we're looking at like,
But the goal in the beginning, you said, was to increase by 10%. So that's 10% compared to the state? Is that what you mean?
our growth.
Our growth.
Your growth, meaning, I guess I don't know what it is, that original goal.
Yes.
Written expression scores will increase by 10%. So what's the original and what's the new one?
Okay.
What's their percentage? Is that what you're asking?
Well, I guess, what are you measuring? I guess I'm not sure what you're actually measuring.
We're measuring so we get a percent for writing on MCAS at each grade level, where we are at. And they want to improve that by 10%.
Correct. So our writing in 2 of the grades did improve. And, well, all 3 grades improved. 2 of them hit the 10%, and 1 was a little short.
So I guess it would just, in the future, be helpful to know, like, initially what that score was, and then at the end, what that actually was. And I know you can show that in MCAS results,
Absolutely,
but,
yeah.
but for that.
We can place that within the
And
goal.
the same in the math, too. And then, and under SEL, I noticed that one of your goals, or 2 of your goals, were to decrease chronic absences and the decreased number of referrals. But it doesn't say what they were and what they are. So if that also, we could just
The
see
actual numbers.
the actual numbers.
Okay.
Thank you.
All set?
Yep.
Roger?
Kind of a comment, but as far as acronyms, I just wish there was like a key for them. Because there's so many of them, and it's not just you, it's this whole document. Every school and every other thing
I'm
that,
sorry, education loves acronyms, but we'd be happy to try not to use them.
or, at least one time, put
Yeah, say what it
the
is.
thing with the
Yes.
parentheses around it, what it was, what it stood for. Thank you.
We do apologize.
No.
Yes, I remember years ago that I declared one meeting an acronym-free zone. And I should declare it before these
Yes.
events too.
Yes.
Because I am extremely sympathetic to Roger, who's on his first year as a school committee member.
And sometimes that's all we speak, so.
Yes. But I came from healthcare, and believe me. You all set, Roger?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so, okay, believe it or not, I have 6 questions, but the good news for you is 2 of them have been taken, but I need some clarification. So I'll start with a clarification. The IEP process, I know it was dictated. Is it in any way, shape, or form dynamic, or did you have any impact, you and your colleagues around the state, and how it was changed?
So DESE spent a lot of money doing an overhaul where they got input from educators, parents, all of special
Including
ed
people like
graders.
you.
Theoretically, yes. And they got that input, then they created a document that they thought was more user-friendly. And then they offered like trainings throughout the year before for people who are early adopters or people who are wanted the training. We were not an early adopter, which I thought was great because we got a lot of exemplars for free and we got to look at what worked for those districts and what wouldn't work for ours. And then we implemented it. Again, I think the most important part that I thought was great was the student voice. I think that was great. But other than that, it is a lot of things moved to different places and worded in different ways that can be confusing to both parents and educators when you first glance at it.
Do you have confidence that 5 years from now you will say, boy, I'm glad we did it?
I am confident that all of the teachers in my school will be adept at talking about the new IEP and telling parents about it. And I think that will be positive.
I think the State Department has a place for you.
Thank you. I would love that.
Okay, I'm still confused about this growth. So the student growth percentile is a measure of growth, and it says that a score of 50 is literally numerically the state average. Okay, so if you get a 60, which depending on how you're looking at it, that's 10 percentile higher, you've had a great year, okay? And 40 is obviously not nearly as good. So is this 10% related to SGP, or is it related to something else?
It's not related to SGP. So what the state does is it breaks down standards and where we're at in comparison. So Wareham Middle School by grade, where we're at in comparison to every single standard and where the state's at. We want to be above.
I don't think I ever see that stuff.
You might not, but I'd be happy to share with you.
So the other thing I see is the percent of people who are at proficient or above.
Correct.
Correct? This is also not that.
Not that. So,
No wonder we were confused.
so this is specifically on the writing standards. So we've always, historically.
Oh, it doesn't apply to math.
Well, it does.
Math.
There is one for math, which is the constructed responses,
Response.
which is the writing portion of the math.
Okay.
Yes, and there's one in science as well. So and we are historically always extremely low in the writing. After COVID, we were extremely low. I think we were all just happy to have our kids back and teaching them. And writing certainly was not something that was emphasized when kids were at home and we were doing online learning. So over the last few years, we have been ramping up, especially since it's an essential skill. And yes, it's tied to COVID, but we do believe that it's definitely a needed skill for all of our children. So in all areas, in all content areas, including science, social studies, science, writing skills is emphasized in all schools. And there's a concerted effort on the organizers that we're using. The ELA teachers are trying to incorporate the science and social studies teachers in how we're teaching specific writing so that they can incorporate it into their lessons. And even so far as in science, in the lab report writing. So it's really been an effort to improve that specific standard, those writing standards that we have to perform to according to our state standards, but that are also tested on MCAS. So it's not as easy to gain data other than MCAS. So what the middle school does is common assessments, which you've heard them talk about how they collectively score, look at the writing, and look at exemplars by grade.
Okay.
It might help, though, if I show you a report. So
Is it on the, if I go to the DESI website for Wareham, is it there?
I think, I'm not sure if you have access to it, but I can definitely easily get you that.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate it.
Mrs. Wixton will send to you.
Let's see. A trivial one. PBIS. How old do you have to be for it to still work?
Well, I think we all engage in the positive behavior intervention of being paid our salary, right? So I think it's still working.
We do it with our staff, and they love it. Like,
Really?
yes.
Okay, all right.
And when they see other kids getting the rewards, it's more incentive to want to get the tickets, and you get the ticket from good behavior, and I think it works.
And it's also tiered. So like for those students who might be resistant to it, we're tricking them into it a different way. There's other ways to rewards. Yes, it might not be a direct ticket, but we're modeling it. We're going into other rooms where there might be high needs students. Some of the teachers have cool things like they have a spinning wheel and everyone who's working is the celebrity of the day. They spin the wheel and anybody working gets a piece of candy or gets a little break. So it's working. It's just we are not being like, you're doing PBIS. We are rewarding them.
I got it.
I
got it.
It's as simple as we did attendance last year, and we pulled out, if you had perfect attendance and kids got rewarded, they came in, or for a substitute. We're having issues. We were having issues with
Golden tickets.
we were having issues with substitute teachers, and we're like, all right, the PBIS team and admin, we need to like really strategize this. What are we going to do? Let's put our PBIS hats on. And so we had golden tickets. So if you had a substitute, and it could have been a paraprofessional that was just covering for a meeting, but they got the golden tickets. Give out golden tickets to those kids. And then we have a special drawing for the golden tickets. And when I would pull in those 5 kids from every, grade and give them a golden, I said, you're the winners of the golden ticket. And they're like, what? And they were just so happy and proud because anyone could behave for a substitute teacher. So it just depends on the culture, and 7th grade is a little more challenging to get them to buy in, but it's all about what's the buy-in, what makes kids engaged and happy about coming to school, and sometimes it's that.
Don't get me wrong. If it works, it works. And all of you are part of what I consider about a 5-year turnaround of this middle school, and it's fabulous. So kudos. All right. This is not a question, just a comment. I love the fact that you're, what my note says, you're applying science rather than trying to teach knowledge. That is, in the days of AI, now that we're in AI, that is perfect. So wonderful. Thank you.
The unfortunate part of MCAS was that science was purely just memorizing information and regurgitating it on a test.
What a waste of time.
But it has changed, so we're grateful.
And they can cross several standards within a scenario. They're very, very crafty. I actually was attending some of the meetings that where they were actually crafting, test questions and vetting them, and using online simulations. This series called FET Labs, and the kids can make their own data and apply it. And they're much more vested in that than, here's a data table and tell me what it tells you. So.
Wonderful, thank you. You mentioned, and if I get the numbers wrong, Dr. Russo, tell me, that one cohort improved by 19%, another cohort improved by 6%, and another cohort was actually slightly negative. Are those correct numbers?
Yes.
This is math.
Yes, that's for math.
Okay. Those are all 3 different grades, is that a correct statement?
That is correct.
Okay, so when I see that, and each cohort is, 150 kids, something like that? Is that the right order of magnitude? Okay. When I see those kind of results, I say to myself, wow, what made the 19, and can we apply what worked in the 19 where there was a slightly negative cohort? I'm not saying +6 is bad. I'm just comparing 19 to less than 0. So what did we learn from those 3 cohorts that we could make all 3 cohorts at 19 or something close to that?
Well, that's a fantastic question. In talking with the math department, the biggest concern that they had was just making sure that students understood the standards and having the right kind of differentiation, having the materials there to do that differentiation for them. And that's what, like our ST Math brought to the table, and our students that were engaged in that ST Math, their scores were better. So it's
So not every student is getting the same curriculum?
well, different grade levels.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
So
Right.
some ST Math is better than other ST Math?
Well, it depends on the engagement of the student. So if students that are very engaged in it, their results were better. So it's a great supplemental program, and so now that's something that we've instilled. We have set aside time in our instruction for students to be able to do ST Math. It's sometimes used as a homework, but we have incentives now for ST Math where students are recognized for the puzzles that they solve. So it helps give them the strategies for when it comes time to take the test. So that's been something that across the board that we have come to realize the value of it and we are using.
Okay, but it also sounds like it's a great opportunity for one or two or three teachers to model for other teachers, because they must be doing something right to get a 19% improvement.
Yes.
And hopefully, we've got opportunities for modeling.
Yes, and actually, a middle school teacher presented to the elementary school this year for ST Math during one of our PDs, so.
Great. And then finally, a really kind of an open-ended question. It's a strategic plan. I'm sure that the things you tried over the years, some worked and some didn't work. Can you give me an example of something that you just discarded because in your professional opinion, it just didn't work? And another example of something that, boy, that was even better than I expected.
Yes, it sounds like a superintendent interview question that we had a couple of weeks ago.
I think a better than we expected is the effectiveness of interdisciplinary writing. I
Yeah,
really have to
that's
give it
what
to,
I was gonna say.
Lisa
Oh,
was
that's
able
great.
to support the social studies. Andrea had art teachers doing it. Sue had science doing it. Special ed teachers were reinforcing it. And the special ed teachers, special ed students actually knew the graphic organizer by the time we got to MCAS Day, and I thought that was really effective.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And writing facilitates itself for it. Back in the day, when we were doing terrible in math, we had like math across the curriculum, and it was awful.
Oh, that's what I got rid of. I vote that.
And we had,
I'm sorry, I missed that. What was it?
it was math across the curriculum. And every day, every teacher had to do some math thing that was in a
Oh,
binder.
I love it,
And
because I love math.
it
but
was
anyway.
terrible. Like, I mean, people like Lisa were like, how do you do this before I go and teach it? And it was a dismal failure. But with writing, it was
Sorry,
like
what was the dismal failure?
the math across the curriculum.
Really?
We were forcing.
I was reading like a fable with my class, and I'd have to force a mathematical problem into it, and then explain how to solve it. And imagine that not going
Yes,
well.
it was.
So is that because it didn't work for the teacher or the students?
Well, both. But that was a dismal failure. So when we ever mention writing across, I mean, but writing we use in every subject. And then we didn't force math teachers to do a specific like essay writing, but it was constructed responses. They're still working on something that's content specific, so.
Okay, thank you for putting up with me. I really thank you for giving up part of your evening. Wonderful job, thank you.
Thank you.
Good job, guys.
And Tracy, do I have to guess who comes next?
Yes, go ahead, try.
You've got this problem with Mr. Palladino, so he's going to be last, so the next one will be Dan.
No. Mr. Palladino
Mr.
and the high
Palladino's-
school are next.
Oh, I should have looked. He's here late all the time.
I don't know if that's a good thing.
He went first this afternoon, so we had
morning,
to,
this
well,
morning.
this
Felt like this
morning.
afternoon.
Although he had to sit there
Maybe-
forever.
I'm sorry?
You had to sit there forever to get going.
Well, someone took a little while before me.
We won't mention names.
Yeah, we're on live TV. Do we have enough chairs? Oh, sorry.
You might have to, does someone want to come over here?
Mike, you want to
Mike?
slide over here? guys on one side of the table?
No.
No, they didn't. I decided to give up on it. It was the wrong time. Amen. Yes.
Right, we are starting with our results of the school improvement
with a
plan for
bang,
24-25 at Wareham High School. Mr. Palladino?
Thank you.
All right, great. Well, thanks for having us. I guess we'll continue on with introductions, just to make sure everyone knows everyone that's here. Scott Palladino, Principal, Wareham High School.
Mike Murray, I'm the Humanities Department Chair at the high school.
Just humanities? I thought everybody had two areas.
He didn't say JROTC, he forgot that part.
Oh,
He has two, he has three.
I thought as much.
Really, social studies, right?
He said humanities.
Yeah.
Andrea Cannon, Assistant Principal of Special Ed.
Hi, I'm Christine Thomas. I am the Department Chair for Mathematics and World Language.
Christina Souza, the Special Education Department Chair.
And Amy Dion, Science, Business, and the Art Department.
Before we go on, I just want to thank some people that were involved in the whole process. I know we're going to report out on last year, but I want to thank our school council, our student advisory council, our advisory rep council, our staff, our parents, our students, for being a part of this process. Obviously, we'll start off reporting out on last year's goals and.
Second, Mr. Palladino.
Yes.
If you want to exit, feel free.
I think she was waiting for me to present, then she was going to exit. But homework comes first, that's fine. Good call.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, no worries. So we'll report out on the goals from last year, and we're all going to take a piece of that. So we'll get started right now.
So our first goal was updating our curriculum. So we were able to work towards creating a centralized document for all our curriculum across all subjects. So we met this portion of our goal by creating an itemized digital map of the status of curriculum in each department. And then we also surveyed students and staff for ideas on new courses to offer. And we met this as well as staff and students were surveyed in the winter of 2025.
And then from that survey, we had a lot of courses that were suggested by students. And so of those courses, there's curriculum that is ongoing and has been written, so written and continuing to be written. But of those courses, we have Officiating 101, ASL, which, by the way, the students requested for 3 years at least in a row. So it's great that it's finally being offered. Unified PE, EMT course, Mindful Yoga, Child Care Practicum, and I'm skipping through just because it's all listed there. And then as mentioned, the curriculum for all of the above courses are being created and is ongoing, and we're using common prep and early release time to do so.
Christine?
For our math and ELA goal, it was centered around increasing the scores of students in the exceeding expectations and meeting expectations of the MCAS by 10%. Our action steps were New Year assessments and breaking down the data. So the first result that we had New Year scheduling as a school. We had a training with all the staff with Bonnie on interpreting data and results. We sent home reports to the families, and we also conferenced with the students about their individual growth in their own specific New Year. The second one is we really spent a lot of time with Tier 1 interventions, and we had a whole group, a whole staff training on Tier 1 interventions and the importance of them in the classroom, and then we were given a sheet that was shared with everyone that had a list of Tier 1 interventions that we could use with the kids in the class that were kind of falling behind and their grades weren't where they wanted them to be. Throughout the school year, at the end of the close of an academic term, teachers were asked to go back and look at the students who weren't meeting with success in their class, to think about what Tier 1 intervention they used and which one they could use in the future to kind of help them. And we compiled that data to kind of look and to see where the kids were and how we could help them. And yes, and we also shared that information with our SSC, our school support committee, that meets to talk about kids that are in danger of failing, and we use that information about the Tier 1 interventions in those meetings as well.
Okay, and drilling down further into the classroom, we had a consultant from ASCD who worked with, observed and worked with teachers who had in special education classrooms across the curriculum, and had individualized meetings with them after each classroom observation, where they shared resources with the teachers. And in the English department, there was the LAN, hold on, I gotta check that. Learning Accelerated Network.
Nice. That was for you, Roger.
I had to read it. We had a consultant from LAN work with us for the past 2 years, coming into English classes, particularly to work on, to have us focus on students working very closely with the text and interacting with each other, as opposed to moving away from teacher talk and having more student interaction with the text and each other. And she was very helpful, actually, worked with us for 2 years, and also had meetings, individual meetings with teachers, and we as a team walked around. It was Mr. Palladino, myself, Ms. Kavicki, and Ms. Cannon, walked around to and debriefed after these observations as well. I wanted to mention also that the ASCD, sorry, I have to go back to that. We had, oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Thomas already dealt with that. Sorry about that.
All right. We'll move on. Andrea?
Yes, so our social emotional learning climate goal was to build out the cooperative school for grades 8 through 12 as an alternative education option. So this was something that we began, but it's in progress. I can go through each of the steps with you for that. So the first thing was that we had to ensure that the building was adequate and meets all codes, which I believe now has been met because we have it open for the past night school program. We also met to discuss, so Mr. Palladino and I met with Dr. DeAndrea and Melissa Fay to go over students and needs, and then also what we would need for staffing to ensure that we're meeting all the students' needs in that building. So we mapped that out, and then we continue during dean's meetings, SSC meetings, department chair meetings, anytime we're looking at student data. We discuss different students who need alternative tracks to graduation. We're meeting those the best we can right now in the building with different programs that we have. So we also, if that was to happen and students from different programs, for instance, our TLC program was going to go over, we would need to have an IEP meeting and talk about a change in placement and things like that. We have not gotten to that step yet because we would need the building open before we were to move on with that.
All right, we'll move on to the fourth goal, and that is attendance. And I know attendance is really, you think of it as like standard operating procedures. We have really, as I think all schools have in the district, have really focused on daily attendance, monitoring daily attendance, and tracking students that are excessively absent. There's many parts to this, and we contact parents, obviously, by phone. If a student is absent, they get an automated phone call. If a student is excessively absent, they would get a phone call, personal phone call from the dean. And we look at it at various times of the year. We start off in September with anyone who has 2 absences. That's our goal for excessive absences. And then as we get into term 2, we have 3 absences is what we classify excessive absences. And then as we get into term 3, it's 4, and then obviously during term 4, we look at 5 absences. So that's kind of how we gauge when we run our reports, the parameters for that. And the deans do a wonderful job. I give them every Tuesday at 9:30, I give them a spreadsheet of the students that are on this list for excessive absences. And by Tuesday afternoon, they already have what they have done during the previous week to support these students, whether it be, phone calls home, or they might add them to the list for me to do a home visit. That kind of happens at the tail end when if they're under 16, we're filing a CRA. So the deans do a really nice job of tracking this, meeting with families, talking to families, communicating with families, and if needed, if the students are under age 16, we can go through to the courts. The home visits have been pretty powerful. I want to thank Officer Baptiste. He accompanies me on the home visits. I'll do anywhere from 6 to 15 home visits in a year, depending on what's needed. Right now, I'm on 2 so far. We've done 2 home visits so far this year. Usually, the majority of those happen after New Year's. So that's been powerful. We meet with the juvenile probation officer. She's great. She's in town. She works well with us. And we also send our deans to meetings they may have. They had a training earlier in the year. We work, as you know, with the guidance department as well, because we have our deans aligned with the guidance counselors. They all have the same caseload, so they work with that. And then last year, I'm really proud and appreciate the support of Dr. DeAndrea and Marie Ferreira, our transportation director, for allowing us to implement the PASS program. And the PASS program resulted in 21 students having an opportunity to go to the PASS program. And this program, as you may have remembered, I presented before on it. They actually go down to the Cape, and there's an actual school that they go to. The first half of the day is therapeutic with counselors, and the second half of the day is academic with teachers. The unique part of this is they get a little separation for the behavior from the school, but they get credit for being in school, and it does not count as a day out or a suspended day. So we were able to avoid, if you will, over 100 days of absences / suspensions by having our students involved in this program. And another part that I'm really excited about is the recidivism rate of those 21 students was less than 5%. We had 1 student that reoffended and would have potentially been in line to go there. So obviously, the 20 students that went down there, I feel like they learned a lot, they matured, and they had a great rest of the year. And it was really powerful. We've done it again. We've sent 3 students down there so far. And it really fluctuates. It's traditionally 1 year. It was more kind of during term 2 and 3 where we saw the most use of the program. So that was great. We have that in place again this year. And then last year we have an e-hall pass. So when we were in school, it was a piece of paper and that was your pass. Now it's all electronic. So if Mike's sending a kid to me, he creates the pass, I get a notification the kid's coming down. If a student has to use the bathroom, they request it. If Mike's teaching, he gets a little buzz on his computer. And when it's a good time for him to allow the kid to leave, they get the pass, and then the person checking them in at the bathroom sees that come through, and they click when they leave. It's really awesome. And we've had great success with that, and we wanted to implement the same procedure for tardies, just to monitor tardies and to track tardies, and this has been a great resource. It takes a little bit more work. Ms. Dion has filled in for Ms. Kavicki admirably for this fall, and has done a great job with that. And Ms. Munson, our main office secretary, it's created a little bit more work for her, but she's done a great job of managing that. And we have, when we meet Wednesday about attendance, as soon as we talk about absences, the next line item is tardies. So we're really trying to get the kids into the building. As the saying goes, you got to be on the job to do the job, and we need the students in the school. And since the pandemic, I think all schools throughout the country have been dealing with absent rates that are far lower than they were before the pandemic. So we're doing everything we can on that front, and I think that's been really solid. And then I get the pleasure of handling the 5th goal, which is discipline. Again, deans do a great job. As I mentioned in the budget meeting earlier, I think they have a lot of credibility because they're still teaching deans, so they're still in the classroom. Andrea and I don't know if we still have the credibility being out of the classroom, but the department heads certainly do because they're in the classroom still at this point. And it's great to have them there. They each have a caseload to deal with students with discipline, attendance. And they're also a resource. You know, if the kids need some support in other ways, they create these relationships with the students, and they're able to support them. So we continue to track our referrals. We meet with the deans over the summer, and the first meeting, we kind of have closure on the school year, and we look at the discipline trends. We look at, you know, which grade has the most referrals, which teacher has the most referrals. Obviously, we don't judge on 1 year. We track that for many years. What are the behaviors that we're getting the most referrals for? So we do a lot of work on that throughout the year, but we really dive pretty deeply into that at the end of the year. We talk about, you know, they utilize, we're very blessed to have after-school detentions. We call them office detentions. We have someone that handles that for us. So obviously, you know, the goal is always to keep the kids in school. We have the office detentions. We also have the in-school suspension, which is kind of like a tier 2 discipline. Obviously, sometimes your hands are tied and you have to suspend. We really only use that if it's a safety issue and we have no choice. We have, as I've mentioned, various resources for parents. We try and make sure we get the resources. The idea of filing a CRA is so that, you know, it's a child requiring assistance. That's the acronym, CRA. And the hope is that we can get the family support, because usually at that point, the family is at wit's end. The kid is approaching 14, 15 years of age, and they need support. So we work really closely with the courts. And the last thing that I want to highlight is we have the opportunity through Stanford University to have, if a student gets caught with vaping, one of the options that we have is they can do an online program, and that has worked out well for us to educate the students and hopefully get them to stop using. And this year, we have again tweaked the cell phone policy in the high school, and that seems to be going well. Obviously, this is like candy to a baby, and it's sometimes tough to get it separated, but I think the staff and the students have done a great job. And I know it's early in the year, so I'm not going to celebrate. But last year was our first year of that policy, and that went well. And I think we've only enhanced it this year, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So those are our goals and updates on where we're at with the goals from last year. Would certainly entertain any. Do we want to pause for questions, or we want to keep going?
I think at the end.
At the end, I'm sorry, thank you. We'll continue on then, and we're going to go on to the 25-26 goals, and I think we're going to kind of go in a similar order. We'll start with Christina and Amy again.
So we're going to continue to update our curriculum. We're going to finalize our comprehensive curriculum inventory document, prioritize our early release time and time at the end of the school year to continue writing curriculum. And then the math and ELA department heads will meet with the curriculum director to discuss the 8th grade curriculum.
And then round 1 of revisions for that curriculum really are based on the fact that we have a new curriculum template, because we had to remove the IB portions of the previous curriculum template. So we are going through, and round 1 would be all of the new courses should be addressed first. And then as time is available, all of the other courses need to be updated accordingly to fit the new template. And then we would like to finalize the capstone project, which, as you know, was piloted for the last 2 years, and where students presented last year. And we will be coming before you with the course of studies updates, with some information about capstone.
Our next goal is to establish a consistent educational experience for all students that reflects a shared set goals, differentiation levels, and assessment tools. So with that, we're using the NUIA data that we get as a guide to build our courses, core math and English. And our core math and core English classes are those classes that the kids that are kind of falling behind a little bit on the MCAS and other testing take as like a supplemental class to kind of get their skills up to where they need to be. So we'll use the NUIA data to kind of guide the instruction for that class. And then we're working on creating common assessments for all courses with multiple sections. So for instance, if we have 2 or 3 algebra classes running, we're making sure that they're all taking the same assessments at the end of every unit. And that way we'll be able to use that data also to make some informed decisions. And we did have an ASCD training this year. It focused on differentiation that we all took back in I think it was just a few weeks ago that we had. So we did that a couple of weeks ago. You're up, Mike.
This, my part actually anticipates one of Mr. Sweat's questions because.
Down to 5.
Right. So there are two initiatives that had elements that didn't really work, but didn't necessarily mean we threw them out the window. So we tried some new things with them. And one of them was the special education collaboration meetings. We had one of our Monday meetings was dedicated to that because there was a need for co-teachers to be able to have some additional time to collaborate because they don't always have the same periods off, almost never. And so that was good on that level, but there were a lot of other teachers who then, we had to sort of create something for them to also focus on that was special ed related. However, so this year, it's been more targeted though, and the effort has been to include all teachers in this and not just primarily focus on the co-teachers. So, as a matter of fact, last week after last Monday, our most recent Monday, was when we had an activity that all teachers participated in which they wrote down the names of students that failed or did poorly in their class that quarter and what specific interventions they use with those students. And the other thing was in our Viking block we found, which has been very successful in reducing our failure rate, but we have found that giving students the option to basically not sign up and for a teacher led some certain students to not sign up on a fairly regular basis. So what we did with the very first Viking block this year is we had the social workers and the counselors basically descend upon that group that showed up somewhat predictably in the cafeteria. And so now they've all been placed and they've been given an individual path, and that's really what they needed. They needed that individual attention. So those are two things in those two areas that were improved.
And Mike also, during that time, takes the students that have made honor roll, and they're allowed to have a directed study with him in the auditorium. So that's really, I agree, that's gone really well, and we anticipate that continuing. So I will move on to our next goal, which is, again, attendance. And we have a new saying, the best ability is availability. And so we may be going away from the on-the-job one.
That's your legacy,
No, that's Mr. Jordan's legacy.
Oh, really?
I can't take credit. I just continued that on after he retired. But, so, again, just continuing on, we're never happy. I mean, I know, you want to have, 95% attendance or better. It's tough. It's been tough. We've had a lot of move-ins with a lot of attendance issues that I know it's a surprise, but they continue on when they come in. And we're really, again, kind of doing the same things we did last year and always looking for new ideas as well. But I think we have to stay focused on the attendance because it's so important for the students to be in school, no matter what grade they're on. And it's pretty cool when our guidance counselor, when our deans go to court, they actually see the guidance counselor from the middle school, so it's great to see. And I'm sure the elementary school has a rep there as well when needed. I think it's more probably a middle school and high school thing with the courts, but it's great to see the support and we're all on the same page with this attendance thing. And, getting the kids to come to school, because I know when I was the assistant principal, it was very frustrating to see that, the kid had been absent 20 more days since kindergarten. And I'm sure there was a lot that was done, but it was a habitual thing. And it was a learned behavior, and they continued to do that through high school. And eventually they would lose credit and become a risk for dropout. So, again, same things we were doing last year. continuing to use the PASS program and continuing to track all that data. So we're really hoping next year we'll be at 95% attendance, and that would be a huge victory for us. There's not too many schools that can tout a 95% attendance. And then moving on, again, discipline, because there's a correlation. Obviously, if you have kids suspended, that's impacting your discipline. So again, continuing to provide teachers with the support and feedback. We have teachers that may struggle with some discipline, and they do a lot of peer observations. We have some really strong teachers with discipline. So we have these people identified that they can go and peer observe. And some teachers have asked us to come in and observe them, not officially through our program that we observe teachers with, but to come in and just offer some advice, off the record, so to speak. And that's been really successful. Again, continuing to kind of do the same things we have been doing, but always looking for new ideas. Obviously, last year the PASS program was a new idea. But again, just keeping this as a goal to continue to make sure that we're working on the behaviors and holding the students accountable, obviously, but trying to keep the students in school as often as possible, and only suspending if it's a safety issue. So those are our goals, and I think now we will answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much. April.
So you said that there were 21 kids in this PASS program where they spent half a day doing more like social emotional, like counseling sessions, and then how is that under the same umbrella as our PASS night school program? Or, because it's very confusing, I have two separate PASS two programs with the same name. So I don't know if we opt into someone else's PASS and that's why we call it that, or if it's a different acronym. I'm just trying to differentiate between the two.
Positive Alternatives for Student Support. So this is a program that a lot of Cape schools use. So it's like we're sending a student down there and they're going down there in lieu of suspension, or we're using it as well, like when we're seeing students that are struggling with something and really are having a hard time in school. So before a suspension this year, we're trying to use it that way. But it's a program we send them to that is run by, they have social workers, they have different clinicians, and they have teachers there. And we send them down there like in lieu of suspension. So they go for 5 days and focus on them in a very small environment. And then they come back to the school.
And there's a tremendous amount of feedback between the school, their school, and our school. And, it's something I meet with the principals on the Cape a few times a year, and they've been talking about it for years, and I keep hearing about it. I'm saying, this would be great, but it's just so far away. And speaking with Marie, when she took over as transportation director, I said, do we have a bus going down to Osterville? And she said, oh, yeah, Cape Cod Collaborative moved. And I said, how much room's on the bus? And she said, 1 seat, why? And then we made it work. Mr. Murray calls it diesel therapy on the way down. And it's been great. But they've been PASS program for a lot longer than our night school has been PASS program. It's just a different acronym, spelt the same.
Okay, and then my other question was when you were talking about one of the plans about utilizing the co-op, and I know they just had like the open house, but how many students are slated to either be in or have started in the new co-op program?
Well, the co-op program is a night school program, and I don't know what the numbers are, but our students what we were trying to do, and hopefully we can continue, we obviously garnered some momentum this year. We got the building back, and night school is in there. But what our goal is to do in the future, and I don't want to put a time frame on the future, is to have an alternative school like we used to have. We were smart enough as a district to keep the co-op number and identification through DESE as a school, and we never got rid of that, and we used it for night school, and we have a school within a school at the high school. We have about 7 or 8 students that are in this program at the high school. The goal is to eventually, when hopefully budgetary times get better, to open up a couple of sections, a couple of teachers in the school during the day, because some students can't function in a school with 565 students and 300,000 square feet. It's just very difficult for them. And if they have the opportunity to be in a school that's like 4,000 square feet with only a dozen students, they can really focus and the distractions to them are not there. So the hope is that eventually, and I think, like I said, Dr. DeAndrea took a huge step this year in getting that building back to us, getting night school in there, bringing it up to speed and code with everything they had to do. So now it's just a matter of really being in a position where we can get that started. You're never going to be able to take the students that are in our TLC program, all of them, and put them over there like day one. That would violate a ton of IEPs. But what will happen is if we can have a 3-year plan, a good percentage of those students and a teacher or two would be able to go over and run that program the way it used to be run. And I think the students, it'll be best for those students because, again, they'll be able to focus.
And we have students who move in from alternative high schools who right now we have to enroll in the high school because we don't have an alternative high school. So when students come from an alternative high school and move to Wareham, which the numbers have increased drastically this year of those students. Like we have 8 of the 31 move-ins all came from alternative schools.
Thank you.
Roger?
So I guess my questions are about the Wareham 4th District Court. So you mentioned that above 16?
Below 16.
What, okay, below, yeah, okay. So what happens to them above 16?
We don't involve the courts, unfortunately. It's a tool that we can use in the district until they are of age 16. And then even if when they're close to age 16, we can't utilize it. So at that point, we don't have those type of resources in place. But what's nice is we do have the PASS program that's here at Wareham, where if the kid was struggling, that might be an option for them as well. So we're very lucky to have the PASS Night School program, and Jane did a fabulous job with that. And I anticipate Bethany will continue that legacy, and we're very fortunate to have that. It's really dropout prevention. I can only imagine what our dropout rates would be if we didn't have a program like that in district. And we're very fortunate. There's a lot of schools and a lot of districts that don't have that program, obviously, as you have heard, because other local towns that are in this area send their students to our night school program. And that's great for us because obviously we get money for that. So that's all we have. I mean, that's one of the things that we have for those kind of kids, but the courts won't entertain any conversation for anyone that's over the age of 16.
So what's the conversation below 16?
Well, there's a petition that we have to file through the courts. And again, this is if the kid gets to a certain number of absences in a term. We can file a CRA petition. One of our deans is qualified to go down and do that, and they fill out the petition. And then if the clerk magistrate feels that there's enough evidence to move forward with the petition, he or she will then bring it in front of a judge.
And there's a family resource center, so they'll hook up the families with different resource centers. So maybe they'll have family counseling, like they have all different resources in town that they'll help the families to help the student to come to school.
I see.
DCF may get involved, they're there, and at the very least, the probation officer will be involved as well, and she'll come, she comes into the school and meets with the students that are on the CRA, that used to be a CHINS petition, and she'll meet with them and talk with them as well. So it just brings out a lot of resources that otherwise those students wouldn't have. I wish they would increase the age to 18 because, to your point, what happens to those kids 16 to 18? Unfortunately, there are not, in this case, these type of resources available to them.
That was a resolution at the delegate assembly last year for MASC, but it did not pass.
Right, there's a cost to it, I'm sure, because now you're increasing those people's caseload, but I'd love to see it.
Okay.
All set, Roger?
Yeah. I had something, but I forgot what it was. So.
We can come back to you.
All right.
Happens to me all the time. Is it too early to ask you if the failure rate has improved in electives?
I don't think it's too early. We have some evidence that I would say would support that we have decreased that. We haven't dove too deep into it, but I'm going by, our ineligibility list that came out, which was, I think it was high 40s as far as number of students that were ineligible. And when I looked at all the names, it was really kids that we had been discussing either in SSC or attendance meetings. So there were no surprises there. I don't know if anyone else has any feedback so far on that, but that was my big takeaway when I saw the ineligibility list. I said, "Wow, this is great."
It's the new electives that we've talked about, right, that are very exciting. Are those classes accessible to all students, even the ones who may have been failing in other electives?
The beautiful thing about having it as a student-driven process is Power School schedules them, so it doesn't know whether they failed 20 classes in the last 3 years or failed none. Every kid has access to it. The only exception will be the EMT course, which we said only 12th graders could take. So they'd be limited in there, and that was just because of the time. We want them to be familiar with the material when they take the test, and they have to be 18 to take the EMT test. So we really wanted to make sure that they were just finishing the class when they would be eligible for that test. But everyone has access. Some classes we do max out, but I don't think there was the closest we have to a max out was our Coaching 101 with Mr. Gardner has 29 kids in it, so he is almost full. And I think that was the only new elective that we came close to we have to stop the class at 30 because that's all we can fit in the classroom, and we can't really add desks like we used to. So that's the only elective that came close.
Okay. And this, I know this question isn't specifically for the high school, so maybe it's for you, Tracy. In years past, we've seen survey data associated with this presentation. So there was a survey that was given, I think was given at every school. Maybe it still is, but we're just not seeing the results.
Yes, there is survey data. Usually we have it as part of our climate goal, if there was a climate goal. So I think the middle school had a climate goal, and it was part of their results to look at their survey data.
Okay.
Actually, our survey data is good in all 3 schools. I will share those results with you. I'll ask Mrs. Wixton again to send that to you. And we really do need to update our survey. But I was hoping that came with the strategic plan because we had discussed this last year. So really it's showing that we're great in all areas, but I just think it's because we've used that survey for so long.
Oh, I agree.
Do you know what I mean?
Yes,
So
yes.
it doesn't.
But it's the only one that we have.
I
so
know,
that's
but
why
it
I'm asking
doesn't
about
really, it doesn't really give us, it's outdated at this point, but I'll certainly share those results with you, but for all 3 schools, it was very good data.
Okay, all right, good, thank you.
That just doesn't inform us anymore, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does, it does. And I just want to say thank you to the high school for including all of the links to the backup, to the documents. It'll be really, really helpful to be able to look at that, so thank you for doing that work.
You had mentioned that one of your curriculum goals is to obviously need to update the curriculum because some don't align with the frameworks and others haven't been looked at in many years. And you said creation of an itemized digital map of the status of curriculum in each department. What does that mean?
So what we created was a digital document with the links for all the curriculum we had. And then what we did was we put the dates when they were looked at last, when we had a chance to rewrite them, and then what we tried to do was put them in an order of priority based on the last time the curriculum was rewritten, so that we would have, on that doc, we have some curriculum that hasn't been written. Just one of the goals is, and has to be, to get back to rewriting curriculum, making sure we have alignment, making sure we have proper articulation, and we've just, we've always, maybe at the end of the year if there's money, we'll do it. Maybe at the end of the year if there's money, we'll do it. And we've had the time as far as, there haven't been a lot of snow days, so we feel as a team that the end of June when school is out is a great time for curriculum because you're not worried about emails, you're not worried about assessing something or planning something for the class. You can just focus for, 4 or 5 hours for a few days on the curriculum. So our goal was to create a document that would have that, and we'd be able to see where
So it's a plan for the rewriting of the curriculum going forward, basically? Or
it's a document to show what needs to be addressed, so I guess
Okay.
you could call it a plan, that's fair.
And when you do eventually rewrite the curriculum, you mentioned several templates, but are you doing like understanding by design or backwards planning, or what is the template that you're going to be using to
and
write?
Amy helped to create the template, so she could probably explain it better than anyone, but go ahead.
We really just, I mean, it was a previous template that was adopted when IB came on. The format included sections that were specific to what IB required as part of curriculum templates that were turned into them. And so now those sections have had to be removed. And
But what about all the other curriculum that wasn't IB? What template was used for them, for that?
it's the same. So like they're just taking out the IB parts.
The global piece.
The global piece, like.
It's a
just the-
UBD, though, design.
Yeah, so
It's planning backwards?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
planning backwards.
We're not, it's not going to change it by much, but there are some IB-specific sections that,
Dr. DeAndrea, I think Tracy, you got an email today reminding us that we can't have anything, which is ironic because we're talking about it tonight and it wasn't planned that way, but just reminding us that everything IB has to be taken out, whether it be curriculum or anything else, website, et cetera. So that's just cleanup that we're doing, but again, it's some things have been tweaked, but we've used the same template for the most part for the last few years.
Well, I mean, I know you mentioned common assessments. I think that's great that you're developing 4 common assessments that all common courses will have going forward. I love the fact that you said you wanted to increase student discourse and you were working with a consultant to do that. I think that counteracts screen time that I think sometimes we get too caught up in. So I think student discourse is very important. I hope to see that going forward. Do you want to be tied into grade 10 MCAS data going forward? Because I would be worried as a high school principal with grade 10, the test not counting, and you guys you said that's the data that you want to use.
Well,
why?
The reason why was because we know whether we count it or don't count it, that's how we're being judged. So,
but would it be better maybe to count it in relation to where we are to the state, so it's like a somewhat even playing field, as opposed to, like you said, you're going to go up 10% proficient in math and ELA, and I can't tell from this presentation if that happened or not.
Right.
And I'm assuming it did in grade 10 because of the test.
Yeah, I wanted to keep it consistent, and I think we all felt that way. Like I said, it's something we're judged on, we're gauged on, and the state says we still have to administer it. But to your point, it was an interesting year last year, and I certainly want to give it another year or two before I said, let's take that off the plate. I think last year, everything was so timely, the decision came down, in early December, or maybe that's when it was announced, and, it was fresh in the kid's mind that, okay, this doesn't count anymore, and I still have post-traumatic stress from, I think it was late 90s when we started this MCAS thing, and the kids were finishing very quickly. It's a little bit easier now, we can kind of see that electronically now, how long they're taking, but it is a concern, but I didn't want to just have a knee-jerk reaction and be like, okay, the first year we had, X percentage of kids that didn't take it seriously. I'm hoping that's going to be a little different this year, and again, I think the hoopla with it all and the publicity, I think, has waned a bit, and I'm hoping that the kids will come in and take it as seriously as they can.
Okay, I'm good.
Thanks to Mr. Murray, I'm down to 5.
Nice job, Murray. Go on in your evaluation.
Do the kids, this is not one of the 5, do the kids?
Then you're back to 6.
Yeah.
Well, that's Kevin's fault.
Okay.
Do the kids take NUIA any more or less seriously than MCAS?
I'm going to have Christine and Mike answer that because they're more involved with that.
My upper level kids that are in upper level classes take NUIA very seriously. I was really surprised when I spoke to some individual 8th graders that are in Algebra 1 Honors, they're in the dual enrollment program, that actually knew their NUIA score from last year. And
Probably one of my tennis kids.
I don't even remember who it was, but when I had
Sure,
2
they're
of
coming
them,
out.
yeah. The lower level kids, sometimes it's tough to get them to buy in, so.
To buy into either one.
Yeah, of course, yeah, it's a lot of testing. I mean, that's a lot of days of testing. I think going over the results at the end, like I had a kid who had, his growth on NUIA was off the chart. And when I showed that to them, and like they look at it and they see a grade, and you have to explain to them that forget about the number, look at your growth, like look at how much you've grown. And I'm really hoping that that will help them to keep going with that. And I'm just saying, you know, you might think that you're not learning this math, but this shows you are. So you need to just keep on going. So, so we're still gonna work at it, but, you know, it's difficult sometimes to get them to take it seriously.
I think the nice thing, though, is it's a continuum from the middle school. So that it's kind of embedded, you know, they've been doing it in the middle school, now they're doing it in the high school. So it's not foreign to them. So I think we have that benefit going. And we only test them twice because they have a final examination they have to take. So middle school, I believe, is 3 times.
And, I mean, the data that we receive is important for the staff, but to Chris's point, it's important to the students to see, like, why, if they're taking a test and they're not getting the results of that test, then what's the significance of it, right? So we start at an early age. I'm hoping, you know, we're starting in the elementary school, but I know the middle school for a couple of years has been showing children where you're at. Let's make a goal for NUIA, and this is where I know you can be. And we're going to support you through this, and so you kind of make it like, this is important. This is showing you, like, and we do the same with MCAS, right? We get the student essays. We share those essays with kids now. Like, we asked the state, you gave them to us, can we share them with the kids? Yes. So it just becomes like, this is important, we see what you're doing, and this is just, any test is just a reflection on how much you have learned. And yes, it's only one day in time, but it is, you know, there is a significance to MCAS, and there is a significance to the data that we glean from testing kids.
When I asked my tennis kids about MCAS disappearing as a graduation requirement, without any prompting at all, they said, it's not a problem, we have NUIA. Now, I have an exceptional group of kids, as Mr. Palladino knows, but nevertheless, Mike, did you have a thought on NUIA?
Just that they get the scores instantly, so they are actually very motivated, I found. I was administering a lot of the tests for kids who were absent, and that was the first thing they wanted to show me when they were done, you know.
Where they're at.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, during this vacuum, and I think it's accurate to say that, because the state's going to fill it, and it's very clear they're going to fill it. To me, MCAS isn't worth looking at. But that's just my opinion. Okay. In no particular order, what is your feeling about the virtual courses? I met your librarian. Seems like a really neat guy.
Awesome.
And he's responsible, I think, for the virtual courses. Are there a lot of them taken? Do you think they're valuable? Are they expensive? Are they cost effective? Well, what is your overall opinion of the virtual courses that we offer?
I think the virtual courses give us a lot of flexibility. You may have a kid who may have an elective they need in their senior year, and it's not offered during that period. So it gives us a tremendous amount of flexibility. I think it's important for all of our students to have the opportunity to take an online course at one point in time, because as we know, when they're going on to college, and even when they're going into the workforce, the trainings are going to be online. So it's important for them to know that format. And what it also does is it allows for like an obscure class that one kid might be interested in. It allows for that student to take that class that we otherwise couldn't offer, either because we don't have the staff or there's not enough interest for the students. So it creates, excuse me, a lot of flexibility for us and for the students. And frankly, I don't know how we would meet the requirements for every student to graduate if we didn't have that program. So we're very fortunate. We're always looking at it and making sure it's going to fit the needs of our students. We actually have 2 different platforms we can use. We have Edgenuity, which is extremely cost effective, and we have Virtual High School, which is a little more expensive and it's more advanced. So obviously there's a smaller number of students that would take advantage of that. But we do have those as 2 options for our students, and we're very lucky to have both programs. And I'm frank, again, I don't know where we would be scheduling wise if we didn't have that as an option.
Just a quick comment on the cell phone policy, because I ask about that to my tennis kids, and they say, oh, we don't have any problem with it, but it isn't well enforced.
I think we have pockets where it's really well enforced, and I think we have other areas where maybe they're a little more laissez-faire with it. My baseline is when I'm in observing classes, I don't want to see them. I don't necessarily check to count the number of phones in the cabinet, but the big picture for me is I don't want it to be a distraction during the 60 minutes they're being instructed, and that's what I look for. So it's been, I think, better this year than last year, and last year was better than the year before. So I think we're making some tremendous strides. It's still early. I don't want to get too excited about this year. We have a long way to go. I think we're not even a third of the way through the school year, so we've got a long ways to go. But I'll certainly, when we come back with a handbook, I'll have more information and evidence for you then on the effectiveness of the policy.
Yeah, we don't want to have policies that are not enforced. It's just
Correct.
Just doesn't make us look good.
Correct.
Dr. DeAndrea did a survey probably well over a year ago. I don't know, maybe even 2 years ago. And it was clear from the survey results, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, that part of the reason we lose students to school choice, et cetera, is the educational environment. And of course, it's the educational environment impacted by a very small fraction of our students. So my question is, how are you feeling about the educational environment? And do you think, and this gets to Roger's point, do you think we have the tools to make sure that, kids don't go home and tell their parents about something terrible that just happened in the school, and the parents sort of say, that's strike one, and when it gets to strike two or strike three, they're looking to, Old Rochester, which I do not believe has better academics, but it may or may not have better educational environment. How are you feeling about the educational environment and your ability to control it with the tools that you've got?
Well, I think from the high school, I think a lot of those decisions are made pre-high school, by the way, in regards to where kids are going to go.
Yeah, sometimes, unfortunately, it's based on what they think is the reputation.
Right. But I think one thing that's a little bit different with any high school, not just Wareham High School, is you have different levels of classes the students can take. And so, if the students that are extremely serious want to be in with serious students, they would take the honors level classes. And I'm not saying CP students aren't serious, it's just a higher level of rigor, higher level expectation. So we have that ability to do that, which I don't think they have at the elementary school, and I think maybe they have a couple of opportunities in the middle school. So we have that ability. So our kids that want to take advantage of the opportunities are going to better schools than most of the area schools around here when they graduate from high school. I think we have a percentage of students, like you said, a very small percentage, that don't take their academics seriously. And, sometimes they're the ones that give you the bad reputation. But I think,
Absolutely.
I think an important goal, maybe it's part of the strategic plan, is really to get the cooperative school open at the McDuffie Annex and allow for this very small percentage of kids to have that small school setting.
Speaking for only myself, I applauded that goal when Dr. DeAndrea presented it to us for that very reason. I don't want kids... No, I won't. It's an old story. I won't bother repeating it. I don't want one or two or a few kids disrupting the entire environment when we have a tool to say, you're not doing well here and you're impacting everybody else. You're going to go down there, and I don't want it to be a choice.
It was very successful when it was open, and obviously I have some intimate knowledge about how everything worked there.
Yes, you do.
It was frustrating when it was closed, but I understand why the decision was made. But I'm just excited that Dr. DeAndrea got us the keys to the building, because I think you can't move forward until you have the building. We now have the building. I think there's a tremendous opportunity. Maybe it takes a year, maybe it takes 3 years, but I think we've got to get to the point where those kids have a place that they can call home. And again, that's a very small percentage of kids, but they can impact the school as a whole very quickly.
PBIS is fine. Apparently it works with a lot of kids. But there's also nothing like saying to a kid, you want to go to the high school? Then shape up.
it's motivation. And when they're there, it's motivation to acclimate to the expectations. And what's really great is when they're on this campus, we've had kids that have taken a half day at the high school and a half day at the co-op, and then that's how they transition. So you don't just kind of throw them into the school with 560 kids. You acclimate them slowly, and they still have the support at the co-op while taking a class or two at the high school. And again, it's great having that on our complex.
Tough question. We've got, just in the replacement of old technology, a little more than $250,000 allocated in our current budget. If we phased out some aspect of our technology that we offer by saying only, phase it out of grades starting at some level and working our way down. I haven't thought this through because that's not the point. The point is we have finite resources. And is it better to spend that $250,000 plus on educators? I don't expect you to necessarily have an answer tonight, but those are the kinds of questions that this committee and your superintendent have to digest, because we have no idea how much the town is going to give us, even though the Finance Committee was very supportive this morning. So technology has lots of pros and it has lots of cons if you listen to everybody. I don't know who's right. I'm not an educator, and I don't like to play an educator. But I do play a finance person in real life, and having to choose priorities is part of it. Do you have anybody have any initial thoughts about what to do with $250,000?
I think you need to know what was at stake for that $250,000 before you can answer that question. You need to know what would be taken away. Obviously, we know that it would be human capital on the 225 if you were able to keep those teachers in place. But I think you need to know, what exactly would that mean from a technological standpoint? Would we have kids without Chromebooks? Would we have, teachers without
Maybe
laptops?
seniors without Chromebooks, and then next year juniors without Chromebooks, and then the next year sophomores without Chromebooks.
I think that would be going backwards if we did that. And I don't know how you all feel, but please. I just think, these students are the ones graduating. They're the ones going out into the workforce or to college or to training or to the military. Everything is done on a computer. I think it would be devastating to say we're going to stop providing Chromebooks for our students. And I think we'd probably be one of the only schools in southeastern Mass that would do that.
I think increasingly, I just heard an educator talk about the fact that we should have no more than 20% of our curriculum time should be associated with a screen. 80% should be that student to student, student to teacher discussion, conversations, et cetera, because because we're no longer in the business, I hope, and the middle school made it clear, we're no longer in the business of getting people to memorize facts because they can look on their phone to get any knowledge they need. We want them to be able to think. We want them to be able to have ideas, to be creative, to be innovative. And to me, having another conversation with another human being, is the way I get more creative, not by looking at a screen.
That's where IB was a great option for us, but unfortunately, that's not a thing anymore.
Anyway, I know I'm being provocative. I don't expect an answer. I'm just planting a seed because that's what this committee is going to be probably forced to consider. Not this specific thing that I talked about, but priorities. How do we spend $1 million less, for example, than we would like to spend? Because we just asked for a $2.1 million increase over this year's budget for next year, and we're unlikely to get it. I didn't mean to end on a bad note. You've all been extremely patient, especially with me, and I appreciate you giving up part of your evening for us.
Thank you very much. We appreciate
Thank you
it.
very much for being here.
Way right.
One to go, Tracy, one to go.
April?
We're back.
I'm going to be relying on you to have a comment about the public participation idea.
All right, we can move on.
Remember about the
We got everyone
dates
in here.
and CTE and the Voc Tech school? Are you ready to talk about what he said?
Yeah, I wrote it down.
He wanted some date.
Yeah, specific date. I wrote it down.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hello.
Mike,
Thanks
what'd
for
you do to
hanging in
yourself?
there.
I'm tired, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. So, we're back. I'm back. I brought the rest of the team. As I talked to you about earlier, my voice is on its way out. I'm a little exhausted at this point in the day.
What?
I'm not kidding you. After I left here, I went back, we talked about working on CPI strategies and working with classes. I worked with 4 additional cases when I walked back into the building, and they were already working
Whoops.
on several issues themselves. So it's been a busy afternoon, and we're here, and we're ready to go.
The team will be very happy to know that Dan represented you very well.
Thanks. Thank you. I appreciate that. So I also would like to thank Dr. Chandler and Dr. Russo. They are kind of the root of last year's plan, which was left with us, and they continued to work through and did a really nice job with that as a team. And so I wanted to acknowledge their part in this goal-setting process. Also, Lisa Antonellis and Mary Morgan, who are not here, they are our SPED chairs. They also had an impact on this plan. They were not able to attend this evening, but they were a huge factor in our production of this of our goals. Jenna Lehane, as well as Lisa Ottaviano, our counselors, again, a huge part of our plan. And I'd like to have our team introduce themselves.
I'm Carol Spinard, one of the assistant principals.
Hi, Wendy Owens, preschool department chair.
Patrick Roach, ELA department chair. Mike Hudlet, the other assistant principal.
So, as I came into this role, and I mentioned this early this morning, I always wanted to collect as much data as we can to review it at different points in the year. There's a lot of data that's collected through MCAS, through NUIA data, and other forms of data that occur within the classroom. So with all that information that we look at from last year into this year and this year moving forward, it's important for me to try to make sure that we're looking at data that is valid and reliable for us, to give us the information to help us to move forward and help us to progress our students. So as we looked at last year's goals and the outcomes from last year's goals, we can start with our student learning. Let me get my computer died up right here. Just gonna chill out 1 second. Thank you. All right. So we'll start off with the ELA goal from last year. Let me get on the right tab, because I'm on this year's goals. Here I go. All right. So students will increase their writing fluency and ability to respond to text as measured by their improved achievements on 2025 MCAS ELA from 30% meet and exceeds to 40% or greater. And I'll go into the results column. The rest has been already hashed over from last year. But I encourage my team to give as much feedback. They've been here a little bit longer than I have, except, well, Mr. Houdelet not in this role, but as a teacher, he was a part of the team. One thing before I get started, I also want to acknowledge our staff. They did, as well as our school council. They had a huge part in developing these goals for next year, for this coming year, but they were not able to be here as well. So let's starting off. The results in progress for fourth grade ELA meet or exceed 29%, which was an increase from the prior year of a 7% increase. There is some growth there, and that growth was a result of a number of things that were put in place from prior years. Would anybody like to address that? Anything that felt was part of that component?
The ELA.
for ELA?
Yeah, I think one of the big contributing factors is the assessment calendar that's been developed. Mr. Roach has worked very hard on the assessment calendar, which starts as early as pre-K, starting in K, and it's almost done monthly. It's a working document. He's worked very hard on getting in feedback from the teachers, what works, what doesn't work, what's valuable data that they're getting, what's not valuable, and as a team, they've sort of, each grade level has decided what progress monitoring tools work best for their grade level. So I think that's a big contributing factor in the increase.
Very good, thank you. So we are going to continue working as we're looking at our data results. So third grade ELA met exceeds was 29%, which was 6% decrease from 2024. Again, not the goal that they were looking for to get to that 40%, but it is an area that we'll continue to work on. It's an area that we've targeted this year as needs improvement for us, and to look at, and you'll see as we move forward in our goals for the upcoming year, some of the strategies and some of the things that we're going to be putting in place to help work towards that improvement goal. Also, obviously, met with third and fourth grade teams, completed the PD designed to create crosswalks between empowering writers, CKLA, and Amplify, and improving the effectiveness of both. So they really did last year, from what I was told. They worked on a lot of the professional development, worked on implementing those curriculum and integrating them smoother, trying to find out where the blend between between the curriculums were, and to utilize the parts of each that were most effective for our students.
It's been like a 3-year process, really, because as a fourth grade teacher, I saw this. When we started CKLA and Amplify, it was focused on the classroom teachers owning that and learning that in a brand new program. And we already had our empowering writers work. We kind of comfortable with that, but then this was implemented. So the first year was focused on what this new program offered. And then last year was really the first year that we were able to say, okay, we got to get them to talk together. We got to get Amplify content with the empowering writers structure of how to teach them how to write and the basics of writing. So I've already seen just in the first couple PDs the next level of being able to integrate both of them, and it's already better now than it was throughout the year last year, as far as the teachers are more comfortable with both programs, which means they're more comfortable with putting them both together. So I've already seen some progress this year.
Very good, thank you. And, the other component that we're going to leapfrog onto later on would be the grade 1 and 2 implementing literacy boosts, which is a block of time within the morning, within the day, where the grade 1 and 2, this is something that they've worked on last year, and we are working on and what it is small group instruction with targeted approach within the curriculum. So students who are showing areas of need are put into groupings, and then those groupings are worked with on targeted aspects of the curriculum and moved into different groupings as needed. It's something that we've seen, they saw a lot of success with it last year, and we're continuing to expand it this year. We'll talk a little about that next part of the presentation. Anybody want to add on to that? The boost.
Well, one thing I did want to add is the data that we get from the assessment calendar I mentioned earlier is used to formulate those boost groups. So the teachers all sit together with the special ed teachers, they look at that data, they formulate the groups, and every 6 weeks, they reassess, they get that data, and they shuffle the groups. So it's really neat to see how the kids sort of start where they start and where they go, so.
We're going to move on to our second goal from last year and the results of that. The goal statement, students will continue to improve in achievement and growth on the 2025 mathematics MCAS, with a focus on areas of geometry as measured by their improved achievement on the 2025 MCAS mathematics from 40% meets and exceeds to 50% or greater. And that was an area that was, we did see a lot of growth within our math. However, we still didn't see, would meet that goal of the 50% or greater in the meets or needs. We did see in grade 3, 34% increase in meets, a level of 34% in meets or exceeds. And then 4th grade, we saw a 40% level of meets and exceeds, which is respectable, but still areas that we are going to continue to look at, and we'll talk about that in our next part of the development of next year's plan. Bridges curriculum was implemented in K through 4. We also had SD Math for 96% participation of students. That was an area that I know Ms. Bernard did a lot of work with across the building to kind of incentivize and to work on that. If you want to touch on that?
Yeah, it's just, we would do weekly incentives for the kids to earn their puzzles, and we focused on growth. We didn't focus on who has the most puzzles. We focused on how many puzzles have you gotten this week. So everybody was starting from zero, almost, not 0 puzzles, but everybody was at the same starting line every single week, which was nice. And they would get ducks, they would get, and the ducks just took off. They were, it was like cryptocurrency with everyone would be like, I got so many puzzles. So it's really exciting to see the kids come up to me and tell me their progress and how many puzzles they have. And they think I'm looking at their dashboard like, did you see how many puzzles I had? And, so it really sparked an interest and engagement with the students, which is fun to see. So.
Can we explain the puzzle pieces? Because when I first came on board, that was a mystery.
So it's a little penguin. He goes through these journeys, and as he completes levels, you get puzzles. I haven't quite figured out the rhyme or reason as to how many puzzles you get per journey, but they get puzzles, and as they get the puzzles, they then move to the next level. So, we have a certain target rate that they need to get as a class, and then they earn those ducks according to their average puzzle progress.
Thank you.
Yeah, and it's not one-to-one. It's not like solving a problem and getting a puzzle. You have to really own a concept before they start giving the puzzles away. So, they do like 5 or 6 or 7 different equations of the same concept, then they get some puzzles, and they move on to a harder concept or add on to that regular concept, to make it more and more difficult. And the best part is for the teachers too, they don't give you any instructions. There are no directions for solving the problems. Kids have to come up with it on their own. So it's great. There's no written directions at all. So sometimes they bring it up to the 4th grade ELA teacher and say, how do I solve this puzzle? And have no idea. So.
However, on the flip side, it's really great for our ELLs because there is no language. And so it's completely guess and check, or knowing the concept or knowing the skill. So it's nice that the ELLs can have the same kind of footing as we do as English speakers.
And as well, with the Bridges-based benchmarks assessments, we'll continue to be developing and analyzing those moving forward. And we'll move on to our next goal, which is student learning goal for regular attendance. Chronic absenteeism is the goal, so chronic absenteeism will decrease and student attendance will improve, as attendance is a vital aspect for students to receive instruction within the classroom. This goal will be measured by achieving 95% attendance rate in the 2024-25 school year. We were recognized as a school last year for our achievement, for the attendance that we had, for the accountability ratings. From the accountability ratings, we got 4 out of 4 points. A lot of that goes directly to the work that Jenna Lehane and Lisa Ottaviano, our counselors, have done over the past year and continuing this year. We do meet with them, and we'll talk a little bit more about that because we are continuing with this goal, and part of that goal is to meet on a regular basis with our attendance team, which consists of a lot of members here and our counselors, to discuss components of attendance that we're seeing throughout the year and to make some adjustments to our goals as we see fit to make sure that students are in attendance, because as they noted in the high school, students in front of the teachers are students that are learning. So we'll continue to work towards that as well at the elementary level. There's a lot to what goes into attendance. A lot of the state requirements for attendance has been adjusted this year. Not a lot, but some of it has been adjusted for this year, so we did make some adjustments, and you'll see that in the upcoming part of our goals. But right here, so we did progress on our attendance rate was up to 92.8%, which is a great attendance rate for an elementary school of our size. Obviously, we'd like to have more. The goal is always to have 100% of our students in attendance. It is something that we continue to work on and we'll talk about in the next part of our goal setting. Tiered attendance communication was fully implemented. That was an aspect we've been looking at and working on and will continue to work on this year. They've had a great deal of success with the tiered approach to the notices that were going home, and we've done some modifications to some of the wording. In consulting with our school council, we did some adjustment to some of the wording for those notices, and we'll talk a little bit about that again next part. Superheroes, attending Superheroes was a fun day. We actually had again this year. Our students were really excited to be there, show off their superheroes when they come to school. We really encourage the kids to have that concept that when they're in school, they're a superhero and they're doing good work to help each other, help their people in their community. They show up and they're dressed as in their costumes, and we really just kind of our staff and students just enjoy the opportunity to kind of acknowledge the importance of attendance and to be those superheroes. And then throughout the year, students are recognized for their attendance, and they're announced. Their pictures are posted around the school building and social media, as appropriate, of course. And then, we announced we look at perfect attendance. We announce that each and every morning for every class that has perfect attendance. We continue to announce those and make a really big deal and make it exciting for them to be in school and to encourage that attendance throughout the year. And last but not least, our professional learning goal for special education. Again, Lisa Antonellis and Mary Morgan have a huge part in developing this goal. They were working on the practice of utilizing the new individualized education plan for IEPs. And to format this implemented, implement it successfully. There were some challenges, obviously, within this process. I wasn't there for the implementation, but based on what I'm hearing, they feel really comfortable that the staff has a good comfort level with the new IEPs and the implementation of it. And I think the staff met monthly at the beginning of November and mastered the new format. The department chairs attended training sessions, purchased materials from Blue Method to share with staff. They developed a Google Drive containing examples and accommodations, as well as created a paper binder for quick and easy references for changes. I think that gave the staff much more comfort level when they were able to have a resource available to them to utilize as they're writing IEPs, as they're presenting on IEPs to the families. I think a comfort level that allows staff, and I've been in IEPs with our staff this year at the beginning of the year, and I've noticed the confidence level and the respectful nature and kindness that they have when they are presenting. They really do look out for the best interests of the students, and I think when they develop the protocols and follow the new IEP formats, they're definitely kind of including the child's perspective a lot more, and I think we've had some great success with that thus far. And we can move on to this year's school improvement plan. So our goals this year, as I mentioned earlier, are similar in nature. Obviously, we have an ELA and a math goal as well. If you look at how I'll just kind of go through it. You'll notice a slight difference, and I'll go over that a little bit with you. The students will increase their writing fluency across genres, stamina, and ability to respond to text as measured by their improved achievements from beginning of the year to end of the year writing samples. Students will increase their writing fluency across genres, stamina, and ability to respond to text as measured by their improved achievements on on-demand writing assignments. So we've moved a little bit away from the MCAS kind of protocols. We're looking a little bit, we're still going to be utilizing MCAS on some portion of it, but we're also going to look more at comparing students to students, so third grade this year to fourth grade next year, and seeing how they grow and what the in different aspects of the MCAS that include writing skills. And we'll be able to drill down and see how those students are growing and progressing. It's a little different than saying the 30% this year and 40% next year, and we're looking at just different groups of students. It's an area that I've always wanted to be able to do as a leader, is to drill down into individual and groups of students and see their progress and being able to document that. And now you're going to notice, too, that there isn't a huge jump. It's a 3 to 5% growth on the individual basis. I think I'm being a little bit, how would I say it? A little bit cautious, I guess, as far as looking at what the growth would be for an individual, because we have students that may be on the verge of being proficient, and then within the next year, they've grown, they've matured, they're able to access the curriculum a little bit better, and then they're meeting or exceeding in certain areas and certain aspects of the curriculum. So that's just an aspect and an area. We'll also continue with the NUIA data and utilizing that, because that is a great way to drive instruction. Because the information that they receive is so instantaneous and rewarding to the students. I think it's also a good way for the teachers to judge and to adjust their lesson plans and to make sure that all students are learning at their ability. Introduce writing portfolios. This is a big part of what we're working towards this year. They're going to have beginning of the year, middle of the year, end of the year portfolio samples, and they're going to be in 3 different genres, so that they're going to start kindergarten it'll go through 4th grade. At the beginning of the year, they'll submit a sample in one genre. Middle of the year, they're going to submit a second sample in a different genre, and by the end of the year, a third sample would be in a final genre. And again, it's the comparison, apples to apples, looking at how a student progresses from kindergarten all the way up to 4th grade and seeing that growth and progress and monitoring that growth and progress. Those portfolios, I call them the neon portfolios. So it's neon writing. We're going to put them up we're going to get them up on our digital boards in our school. We're going to have writing samples that are from our students that will be put up in neon within our building and on the bulletin boards, just to kind of show off periodically. Each quarter, each trimester, we'll be exhibiting those throughout the building and putting their picture next to their piece of writing, and just to show them really that they can become authors. And I think that's part of our challenge as elementary schools teachers, is to have our students become authors and to have that realization that they're capable of doing that. And sometimes all it takes is just a little recognition, somebody giving them a little bit of push and a little bit of support to have that confidence and to develop those skills. Let's see. So CKLA, Amplify and Empower Writers curriculum. We've talked about those again in the past. We've introduced them, and we're kind of at a different level. As Mr. Houdelet mentioned earlier, we are kind of looking at those skills and really infusing them more in the writing. And in our last PD day, we did have a lot of discussions with our staff based on that. Anybody want to touch on that a little bit more? Anyone?
Mention the boost.
Yep. As I mentioned earlier, last year there was grades 1 and 2 that were involved in participating in Boost. They were seeing a lot of success with those students. So we did expand it this year to grades 3 and 4. There was a little bit of challenges as far as scheduling with specialists and scheduling because they have some classroom teachers have a co-taught model so that there's a teacher teaching the math component, teaching the ELA component, and we worked on their schedules together. Mr. Houellette did an excellent job with that this year, helping those 3rd and 4th grade groups be able to integrate the Boost model at their level, and I think we're going to really see a lot of progress with it based on what I'm seeing for those small groups is always an area that we work towards getting because it really does allow for the opportunity for staff to make on-the-fly adjustments to their lessons and on-the-fly adjustments to student learning. ELA vocabulary analysis and infusion. We did this both in math and ELA, so I'll say it now, and it goes for math as well. But we had our staff look at the curriculum, they looked at their testing results, they looked at a variety of different resources they had that they utilized throughout the year, and tried to determine what were some of those vocabulary words that aren't used in everyday language and would be something that if we introduce it earlier in the year and we introduce it regularly or reintroduce it regularly, reinforce it regularly throughout the year, that they'd be able to have a comfort level by the time we get to any type of assessments toward the end of the year and be able to utilize that vocabulary and be comfortable answering questions using that vocabulary. And we limited it. We wanted to keep it simple, keep it to about 10 vocabulary words. We created a document as a Google Doc for each grade level, and so every teacher has access to that document, and they can look at what grade level kindergarten is using, what grade level 4 is using, what those vocabulary words, and it was a really good exercise. It had been done in prior years, but again, that's always an exercise we want to kind of update because there are trends within education that we would want to make adjustments for. So I think we're going to see some, that'll help with some of our results as well moving forward. Writing Day, K to 4, we will continue, but we are doing some restructuring with that, and we'll continue to utilize it. That is a day dedicated to writing samples and producing writing for the building, and we're going to look at how we're going to adjust that throughout this year. We will have data meetings. Those are an important part. We have grade level meetings and data meetings where staff will meet as a grade level, review the information, whether it's the writing samples they're going to be looking at, whether it's assessments that they've taken or given in various ways, and just really diving deep into each student, how they're progressing, being able to bounce ideas off each other to help support student growth and development. Peer modeling samples, again, those will be posted. I think that's a huge part when we teach our kids that they can be authors. When we do that, we allow the community to see, in their community to see what their strengths are, and to share that is empowering for students. Staff will be going to Empowering Writers PD, professional development, which we had some professional development here in district, which was, we had great feedback from our staff about this year's Empowering Writers PD, which was on the 10th. And so we'll continue to utilize, and that's kind of got the ball moving and implementing that in our grade level meetings and our data meetings to help project our students' success. And we can move on to the next goal, which is our math goal. Students will continue to improve on overall math fluency to demonstrate growth on 2026 MCAS mathematics. They did well. We're going to compare, again, our 4th grade our third grade this year to fourth grade next year, and looking for areas, targeted areas within MCAS, number, operations, and fractions, which was an area we saw as an area of weakness for our students, operations in algebra, measurement and data, number operations, base 10. So those are areas that we looked at when we looked at the results. We looked at the questions. We found those are the areas that we had the lowest scores in, and those are the areas that we want to improve the most. But again, we're going to compare apples to apples. So how is Johnny doing this year, and how will Johnny do next year? And compare those numbers to see how much growth they are doing within those aspects. I know last year's goal was on geometry. When I looked at the geometry questions, last year there were 4 geometry questions, and this year there were, I'm sorry, the year before that there was 4, the following year there's only 2. So there was adjustments, not always the same number of questions. So again, that's kind of the apples to apples and orange to orange. But we want to make sure that when we look at however many questions there are in a certain area, are they showing growth in that area? Sorry about that. So again, fully implementing the curriculum, Bridges curriculum, analyzing NUIA and Bridges math curriculums and benchmark scores and assessments. Those are areas that we'll continue to work on and to help guide the curriculum and guide our instruction and our lesson plans to help students access the math curriculum and to develop into math-minded students. I think the number corners that we'll be implementing as well for students, which we've started this year, and I think we've seen a lot of success where the students are having meetings based on a number, looking for trends, looking for patterns, looking for being able to read different types of number sentences. It is really, I think we've seen a lot of success with that this year, and we'll continue to see success, as well as with the ST Math program, which we've been implementing, and have seen, again, success with that as well. We'll probably continue to look for some incentives as well. Again, I won't reiterate, but that is the common language. We looked at for answering constructed responses and helping our students use that language not only during testing time, but using that language throughout the year. Not only maybe they'd be using some of it in ELA, some of it in math, but it is areas where you have certain words that you have an understanding of. If you get comfortable with them, when you do get into testing settings, you'll be comfortable as well in that setting. Pacing guides. We are going to be working and developing those throughout the year to help students, to help staff with the progress and to monitor where they are within the curriculum, make sure that all groups are kind of moving in unison, so that will help that it's consistency across the grade levels. And it is a challenge because obviously every classroom has a makeup of students, and those students are going to progress at a certain level, and some students are not going to progress. So to be able to have an entire grade level moving in tandem is a challenge. It's 8 to 9 classrooms, being able to plan and to look at how we're moving through the year to make sure that we're going to achieve all the goals within the curriculum is important to us. The last part, which I left off, was the opportunities for enhanced alignment with math in concepts in STEAM classes and other specialists. I think that's an important factor when we look at math, and I said this morning that I find the specialists to be the hook that catches a lot of kids to get them to work on math concepts as well as work on reading and to read about subjects that they may find interesting. And so if we can introduce those concepts, and STEAM has that M at the end, which is the mathematics, to make sure that we have a little bit of more of a focus on that component in STEAM classes. We can move on to our third goal, Anybody want to add anything to that before I move on?
I wanted to just sort of, I know you were mentioning with the the high school, or was it I think it was the middle school, with the, excuse me, the application of the science. That's similar to what the Bridges curriculum is like. It's a lot of application. It's not a lot of worksheets. It's not a lot of online component. It's a lot of mathematical thinking, constructive thinking, using their skills in building, hands-on, which is great for the younger kids. So just wanted to add that.
Regular attendance, as we mentioned, is always a goal. Chronic absenteeism will decrease. The students' attendance will continue to improve. We want to get up to 95% or above that rate. We will continue with our daily attendance announcements. We will continue with our daily power calls. So those are something that when we have students that are absent, they're getting the phone calls. But again, that's something that we've worked on, adjusting some of the language to make it. When I consulted with our school council, they found some of the language within the phone calls and the repetitiveness sometimes, they felt it wasn't, it maybe didn't give enough resources to kind of help with that. So we've revamped it a little bit to give some more resources, to give contacts if they're having some issues with children coming to school for whatever reason. They may be, sometimes they're a little anxious, sometimes there's a death in the family, and we've noted that we have resources, but we're really kind of specified a little bit more detail, given a little more detail as to who they can contact and what resources we have available to them. So we will continue with those for both absences and tardies, with some minor adjustments to the wording and the language in those. Sorry. The tiered system of contacts, which was implemented last year. The flow chart, we made some adjustments. We looked at it, and we're going to continue with the tiered approach. But what we've done is also we've created and will continue to create a document for teachers and for our counselors when they communicate with families during meetings or during phone calls or conversations about attendance, with a little bit of a flow chart, how to approach issues, what kinds of questions to ask to encourage attendance, and it's just a line-by-line overview of how the conversation can flow and to help students to be successful, so that not only our counselors are communicating with families about attendance, but also our teachers and staff members as well. So I think that's going to be helpful. Review absences and PowerPoints. We constantly do that. We do that regularly throughout the year. We do have a committee that we've established that will review all of the students' attendance rates. We'll continue to look at perfect attendance throughout the year. Each day we make that announcement, and the kids really love it when their classes are announced and they have a nice sign on their door saying we had perfect attendance today. I'm always encouraging them. I want the 100%. I'm looking to get every class to have 100% attendance, but I know just the odds or the numbers of it are against me. Not going to bet on that one, unfortunately, but I'll keep pushing for it. How are you guys holding out? You guys good?
Just fine, thanks.
All right, great. Just wanted to make sure. Let's see. The tiers, those are there. They speak for themselves. Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3. The team really, again, I have to give all the credit to Mrs. Lehane and Ms. Ottaviano. They did a great job looking at the tiers and communicating that out to the community, because the state is looking at us a little bit more carefully. They are making sure that students are in attendance and that that 5 unexcused absences, cumulative absences, is a little bit of a challenge for some families. But again, we really preempted and we've sent out a lot of information ahead of time for families to notify them that You need to, if there's an absence for medical reasons, you need to get a written excuse, a notice from family, from the doctor, so that we can put that into our documentation. And our nursing staff has really noticed an increase, actually, in just this year on how many students are now actually bringing notes in for their absences. So we're already starting to see that improvement. And last but not least, professional goal of special education is to deepen staff and family knowledge, as well as collaborate in effective reviewing of the new individualized education plan format, ensuring consistent student-centered practices to improve outcomes for students with disabilities. So similar to last year was the first year of implementation. As Mr. Houdelet mentioned earlier, there's often a phase-in or a process that goes along with when we implement something new. There's usually the initial implementation, there's reviews, there's modifications, there's tweaks that go on, and additional resources or additional trainings that we would put in place to kind of make sure that we are showing continued growth and being effective with our IEPs as they're administered. So let's see. The training modules, we have DESI's training modules and exemplars that were posted for the staff to review and to utilize as guidelines as they're writing IEPs. Our two special ed chairs are awesome. They really do help guide our staff in writing the IEPs and reviewing them, making sure that the IEPs are written within conjunction to the new IEP format. They have done a really nice job collaborating with other public schools to make those connections, to make sure that we're in line with what is happening across the state. Let me see, problem statement. Anything I'm leaving out? Share exemplars. I think that's all we have. And I'm a little tired, I have to say. Not kidding.
I don't know why.
But again, thank you for your attention to this presentation. It's a challenge coming in. I often refer to this year as my puzzle year. When I'm putting all the pieces together. I'm looking at a variety of different aspects of a new building, a new district, staff. My leadership team has been awesome, a huge support. They've really carried a lot of weight for me and been very supportive and given me a lot of information and a lot of important data that we're going to be utilizing in the years to come to help us to develop a learning community that Wareham will continue to be proud of and to continue to grow. So thank you for your attention. I will open it up to any questions that you might have.
April.
I just have two. So Carol, you had mentioned the ST Math was universal and that they're, for students who are ELL learners, that it was kind of a universal concept, that language wasn't a barrier. Have you seen an increase in our ELL population, and what roughly would the current elementary school ELL population be?
We definitely have seen an increase, yes. The numbers, 30.
We have
30 ELLs, yeah.
Okay, and then my second question is, all three schools seem to have mentioned in the last goal, it kind of a universal adapting to the new IEP measure, as Catherine had made mention of before, and the challenges of getting the families and the students and the teacher and kind of everyone on the same page. Are all three schools, like special ed chairs, are they working collaboratively to kind of make that a seamless kind of universal conversation between what, the elementary school parents are hearing, what the middle school parents are hearing, and the high school parents are hearing, so that everyone is kind of, as they maneuver up with this new program, that it's going to be, I'm hearing this from this school and I'm hearing that from that school. Are you guys working collaboratively to make that a seamless, kind of step for everybody?
Yes,
Because it's new for you guys as well,
Yes,
so.
Ms. Fay has regular meetings with her team chairs and counselors and psychologists. So the implementation was rolled out by her department, and there's consistency amongst what's being done. So parents should see the consistency. And now that we're using the new system, I think everyone's getting used to that new system, so we're getting better each year on providing input and having parents be part of that.
Thank you.
I don't have any questions.
Someone?
Question out.
All good? You'll be happy to know I don't have 6. First, a small one. When you ask for a note, I assume you're asking for a note from a pediatrician, a PA, something like that?
Yes.
Yes. Does that cost them money?
No.
It does not.
Generally, no. Generally, they call their pediatrician if they've already had an appointment, and the pediatrician usually will fax it over to us.
That's good to hear, because I'm very concerned that people are going to be without health insurance or creating a problem of paying for something that you're asking for. So that's good news. So it's very clear to me, and this is, I think, the second or third year in a row I've been saying this. It's very clear to me that good things are happening in math in the elementary school. And I was told the last time that that was related to a superior curriculum. And I also think, you're actually slightly above 50 from an SGP for 4th grade math, which is not a trivial thing to achieve, because anything above 50 is better than the state average. And I admire your high expectations, okay? I'm sure I don't need to remind you that we're 70% high needs. And when I look at the DART group of schools, you know what DART is, yes? Yes, okay. That are similar to Wareham, we look very good. So I think you have a lot to be proud of. But nevertheless, I do worry about ELA. I just think it's such a foundational element to success in their entire education. And so first a question. Do most of your teachers teach math and ELA, or is there a lot of co-teaching?
Most of them do. It's up at the upper grade levels, they're shared. Probably about what the numbers are for the upper grade levels shared.
50-50.
About 50-50.
So 50-50
At
co-teaching?
For third and
Third and
fourth
fourth.
grade.
Third
Third and fourth
Yeah,
grade.
that's what I
Third
thought
and
you
fourth
meant.
grade is 50-50.
Okay. Do you have any feeling, data, whatever, as to whether that co-teaching model, in fact, works really well? Or is it basically, fairly neutral, or maybe it doesn't work all that well? In other words, if it's a great idea, why are we only doing it 50% of the time?
Mike, you've done it for.
It's a lot of variables there because I'm just thinking about the performance on MCAS. I think some of the highest scores on MCAS were standalone teachers in 3rd grade, but then on the flip side, I think some of the higher scores were with teams on 4th grade. So I don't know if
It's
there's a magic bullet.
I understand, because if someone is producing great math results and mediocre ELA results, I'd be somewhat surprised in the sense that usually if you're a great teacher, you're a great teacher. You can teach anything, science, social studies, math, whatever. I'm not an educator. I'm just trying to better understand. It drives me crazy, by the way, I think I said this morning. My background is healthcare. Healthcare, when I was growing up, before you guys were born, healthcare was a mess. Medicine was a mess. It was the time when people were having birth defects because of poor healthcare. They finally figured that out. Now it's a mess for a different reason, and I won't go into that. But the idea that we're still debating how to teach reading in 2025. Now, you may not be debating it, but the nation is debating it, because I read about it all the time. It just, if I was in your profession, I'd be saying, good grief. So I'm very sympathetic, but sympathy is not worth much, especially from a school committee member. Parents just want their kids to know how to read so they can, as the saying goes, read to learn, when they get to middle school and maybe even before they get to middle school. So do you have the same level, and I'm assuming I'm correct, do you have the same level of confidence in your ELA curriculum as you do, or I assume you do, in the math curriculum, which has produced really good results?
I think from our ELA, just going back to your concept of the health area,
Right.
I think everything grows, right? Everything changes. Science is not stagnant. They're constantly reviewing procedures, materials, data that they have on different surgeries or data on different procedures.
Yeah, but there's a big difference in the sense that a physician who is not doing the appropriate way of trying to cure or do surgery or whatever can find him or herself, losing their license, okay? Whereas we're debating how to teach reading, and everybody's got a license, and no one's feeling threatened with their license because they're doing it a different way.
I think they do. I think there's different approaches to different aspects of reading. So I think that science and researchers have shown different approaches are more beneficial. Just like if you're talking about knee surgeries, they'd have different approaches now than what they had 5 years ago. It's just a slightly different approach. So I think that's kind of what we see in reading and ELA, is that there are just different approaches.
So back to my question about ELA curriculum. How do you feel about it?
I think we're making some adjustments. I don't think there's ever one curriculum that's going to be the silver bullet that's going to work for every student that's out there. So I think we have to make adjustments as we look at the curriculum, utilize the best parts of every curriculum, and make some adjustments as needed.
I also think the curriculum gives a guideline to the teacher. Like you said, the teacher's a teacher. The teacher's the one that delivers it. And the curriculum ensures that every classroom, every child within grade 1 is receiving the same skills. So when they go to grade 2, all the grade 2 teachers know, they went through the curriculum. So the curriculum doesn't necessarily so to speak, the Bible. We can go off of that depending on the needs of the students and the skills of the teacher. The teacher can pull in what they know. And
it's a lot about the professional, and it's about building relationships with children and building relationships with parents, and it's engaging students into really wanting to learn.
Yeah.
And that's up to the professional that we've hired to put in front of the child. So it's not necessarily the Bridges program or Numbers Corner or ST Math. It's a combination of humanism, I guess.
I know there are a lot of variables.
Yeah.
In fact, there are more variables in education than there is in medicine. And that's why I have a lot of sympathy for you. But I still think in 2025, there's too much uncertainty. And I've got to believe, maybe I have to believe, that a good teacher and good curriculum will produce good results, period, end of story.
We have to trust in that.
Okay, are we good, everybody?
We're good.
So,
Thank you for, especially Dan.
Thank you.
A very long day. I very much appreciate seeing all of you at least once a year, if not more often. Have a great night, and thank you for being here.
Thank you. We appreciate your support.
very much.
And are we vote on this now?
Do the slides?
You want me to?
Yes.
Oh, 19.
Are we? April, as usual, pointed out something that Jamie normally points out. Do we need to vote approval for these presentations?
Yes.
Okay. I will take them. I've also had a request for a short recess. Okay, a short one. So I will accept a motion to approve the strategic plan, the strategic plan presentations.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 500.
Can I
Yes.
make a quick point of order? you have on the next, an hour scheduled for the next presentation, and this previous one went an hour and a half over the allotted time on the agenda. So I just wanted to point that out, that there is an hour slated for the next presentation, and it's 9:30.
I don't think it's going to take an hour, is it? No.
I have a lot to say, Joyce.
I think we'll catch up.
I'm just making sure. I'm just pointing it out there, Jeff, so you're aware of your question quota has been met for the day.
All right, 2 minutes and I'm counting. Stretch your legs.
Oh, I thought,
Okay, we are back from our recess for an abbreviated presentation of our budget. The entire budget presentation is online, correct, Jamie? Yes. Okay, so if anybody wants more details than our superintendent is about to provide, feel free to go there.
thank you. Yeah, we had our budget presentation this morning. It was 4 hours long. It was recorded by WCTV, so I do encourage you to go watch it. So, picking it up here, so what I did is I presented this morning was what I call the level service plus budget. Level service, of course, being level service, carrying over the services that we are delivering this year to next year. And the plus is really 4 new positions, or not new positions, but 4 positions that have changed or been added. 3 of the positions are at the elementary school, which would be an additional assistant principal, and then 3 paraprofessionals, and then at the high school, moving the athletic director from half-time to full-time. We had very extensive discussion this morning about those positions and why we wanted to increase those positions. And I encourage you to go watch the video on that, because it was good discussions around the importance of those positions and why we need them. After all that is said and done, the level plus budget, you can see on this slide, we have each of the cost centers from the budget down the left column, and a comparison between the FY26 budget, that would be the budget that we're currently in right now, and the proposed FY27 budget, that would be the level service plus budget on the right side. So you can see the increases in each of the cost centers. And we have a slide a little bit later that will break down exactly what are the budget drivers that are most responsible for the increases in each of those cost centers. Okay, next slide, please. These are some of the offsets to the budget. You guys are all familiar with circuit breaker and our title grants and our IDEA. We anticipate that we'll have about $3.5 million in offsets that we'll be able to apply to the proposed budget. And so that would reduce it from the $41.8 million budget to $38,244,686. Next slide, please. So looking at that, the $38.2 million budget for proposed FY26, FY27, and the current budget we're in is $36 million. So we're looking at the level service plus budget of a $2.1 million increase, and that's about 5.97%. Next slide, please. These are the budget drivers, and as you guys are always familiar with, is that it's mostly salaries. Out of the about $2 million increase, it's $1.6 million our salary increases. We also have $260,000 in replacement of aging technology. That is for laptops for teachers. We're looking at ways to bring that number down. We're looking at using Chromebooks. Well, that is for Chromebooks, right? So that would be Chromebooks for teachers, are called Chromebook Pluses, which are less expensive but also very effective.
So that is the lower number.
That is the lower number. We're looking at how we can phase them in rather than replacing them all at once, which I think is probably a better way to do it. So there will be some savings there. Out-of-district tuitions increasing 177,000. I think I did save the slide for those tuitions, so we'll talk a little bit more about them. Out-of-district transportation, of course, accompanies that, and that's also increasing. And then some curriculum instructional supplies, and then some increases here and there that are on a smaller scale. And that accounts for that $2.3 million increase before the offsets. Next slide, please. Tuitions to other schools. We have 2 students at Bristol Aggie that cost us $58,270. And then we have our students that go to the private schools and then the collaboratives. And you can see the tuitions that we're paying. Tuitions are going up unbelievably high, and it's really impacting us. This is a total of 35 students, and it's 4.2 million. So it's pretty significant, and with those comes increased transportation costs because we have to transport all of those students. So
Is that just one collaborative?
no, it's a number. It's a number of different.
Multiple collaboratives?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, next slide, that just shows the increase. It's 5.97. We talked, I said that this is a level service plus budget, and I talked with the principals and the admin team. What would, if money was not an object, what would we put in place that we believe that we need? And so we're calling that the level service gold budget. And so this would be an additional $709,000 to our ask. And it would be an additional half-time ELL teacher, just to make sure we meet the recommended support for our ELL students. Even though it is a small number of students, we really could use a little bit more support for them. A social worker at the elementary school, 2 interventionists at the elementary school that could provide targeted interventions for our students that are falling behind. There would be a paraprofessional in every kindergarten. That would be 8 of them. 2 interventionists at the middle school, 1 for ELA and math, again, providing targeted instruction for students that need it. And then we do need an additional half-time administrative assistant at the middle school. I call that the level service gold because that would be the level service plus adding these positions in level service gold. We did have a FinCom member say today, you guys should go for the gold. So I just wanted to make sure you guys heard that. He said, go for the gold, and it's on tape.
I do need to point out something.
Yes, sir.
In going for the gold, you not only are asking for an additional $709,000, but you're also asking the town to put up, because most of those positions, all but 1.0, 13 of those would be eligible for benefits, and benefits are very expensive, and those benefits are absorbed by the town. So it's one thing to say, ask for $709,000. It's another thing to add, 25% or whatever to that number in the form of benefits that the town would absorb. That's why, even though it might be tempting to, quote, go for the gold, I think reality is we would be, I think our management team, including our new superintendent, would be very happy with plus.
Yeah, And I agree, and that's an excellent point. And so that's why we did say, really, the ask.
Go for the bronze.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right. That's right. That's why
The
we said
participation trophy.
level service plus. Excellent point. Yeah, and I really emphasized with the FinCom today how supportive the town has been, and I say it every time, but I really do mean it. They have been so supportive of the schools over the past few years with the building projects that we needed, and I know that Derek, over the course of the year, always keeps trying to give us additional money for the next year's budget whenever it comes available. Hopefully, we'll get more support, the town will get more support from the state this year, and they'll be able to contribute that money to a level service plus budget, and maybe by some luck, we'll be able to get that. And that's generally it.
You, any comments, partner, in the budget subcommittee?
And for Kevin and April, I know you guys had to work today, but if you guys ever want to meet with me and Kristen and go through the longer version, you have access to it because it's a shared document to go through it, and if you have some questions, reach out to us, or if you want to meet. And like I said, it's going to be on WCTV, so you can.
And it's accurate to say, I'm sure Jamie will tell me, we don't vote on this budget until, what, early in January?
December 18th.
It used to be January, now it's December 18th.
It's always been the second meeting in December after the joint public hearing.
I know it's after the public hearing, okay. So is it your plan for the hearing to be essentially some version of this morning and this evening, something in between?
Yes, sir.
Okay, but the same numbers?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I don't see too much risk at the federal and state level associated with this budget, but I also don't see much of a plus. I think they may divert funds into different departments at the federal level, but they're legislatively mandated, and I don't think they're probably going to start attacking Title I or IDEA or something like that. So at the federal level, I don't see too much risk. At the state level, I think I will be very happy to get through this fiscal year without 9C cuts. If we have 9C cuts, which are literally the governor saying, we're not going to spend this money, then all bets are off in terms of Chapter 70. What they do with the so-called millionaire's tax is anybody's guess. But I can't see a big number, frankly, either way. I can't see much of a cut, but I don't think we should be holding out much hope for a big jump, because we frankly got that, 3 years ago?
Yeah.
There was discussion at the MASC conference during the delegate assembly, like not official, but of some of the things about having the Chapter 70 promises haven't been completely fulfilled. So there is work on the legislative side of MASC to try to get the state to complete what they should and fund it as fully as they had previously promised, because it hasn't been being met. So that is being worked on a state level through MASC.
Okay. Unless there's anything else, let's move on to the superintendent's report.
The only thing as part of my report will be the bill and payroll warrants.
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
For the payables and payroll? Is
Second.
that a second? Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Payroll and payables?
Aye.
500. Okay. April?
So I would like to make a motion to table the new policy conversation to align with the policy review update, or unless it has to happen immediately. It has to happen immediately.
Yeah.
Because it says discussion, not vote.
We always discuss first, then we vote at the next meeting. It has to be done before December 31st.
Okay. Well, there
Well-
goes that.
We owe it to the state.
Okay, but we could discuss it tonight and vote at the next meeting.
Right.
Okay, so I think we got some valuable input. and I appreciate it, and I also appreciate you hanging out all this time. Excuse me?
I said I love the school.
Oh.
Done a great amount of help with my children over the years.
Great to hear. Will you be so inclined, and I'm not asking you to actually describe it yet, will you be so inclined to constructively amend the proposed policy to include some reference to the feedback we got from Mr. Chadwick?
Oh, look at it's all written out for me. I love that for me. The original policy. Yeah, so what Mr. Chadwick had brought.
I'm not asking you to say it, but
It should be able to align because this one says, if I just want to clarify, if Mr. Chadwick can we ask him to clarify what his
yes,
statement
but
was?
I would ask you to come to the microphone and take some credit for the initiative and the time you put into this.
So my question was just to clarify, you were looking to, in the policy as presented, you're looking to modify the date of October 15th to December 1st, is that correct?
Negative.
So this isn't
Under
a,
CTE tour policies.
Right.
It would be before December 1st of each year, allowing time before the registration of UCT deadline of January 5th. So the tour would have to happen before December 1st of each year.
What is the January date that you said?
That's their registration cutoff.
Like their application?
Yep.
What's the date in the policy right now?
there isn't one under the CTE tour policy section of this policy.
So
There's
this-
no date.
This would just be holding people's feet to the fire that by a certain date, the tour has to take place. Is
Yes.
that a fair statement?
Correct. So right now, the opening statement of that would be Wareham Public Schools will provide all eighth grade students an opportunity to tour Upper Cape Tech during regular school hours. I would think that that would be the best place to add not to,
Prior to
December 1st of that year.
Yes.
Mr.
That's
Palladino,
not where he's,
do you have an opinion on,
It's gonna happen before then either way, whether it's in writing or not, so if it makes people feel more comfortable in writing, I'm all for it.
okay, good.
That seems reasonable.
I read the policy. I have had lots of things to say about Voc Tech in terms of their admissions policies over the years. The last thing I want is a competition for students to prevent kids from going to the right place. And I think this is probably a constructive step in that direction. So if all we're really talking about is putting people's feet to the fire and it doesn't have any impact, real impact, then I say insert it. Now, do you need to go back to your committee?
Yeah, so this wouldn't be up for review.
Okay, so we've discussed it. Anything else that people want to talk about as it relates to this policy? Roger, you good?
Yes.
Joyce?
yes,
Okay, so we can vote on it at the next meeting?
yep.
Yes?
Yes.
My goodness. All right. Believe it or not, I've got one quick thing. Thank you, Jared. I appreciate it. I've got one quick thing, and Mr. Palladino, you'll want to hear this.
Oh, no.
You do not need to comment. As a matter of fact, don't comment. One of my responsibilities, not as chair, is to monitor the performance of the park scholarship money. You may recall that that's approximately $750,000 that is designed to give 4-year scholarships of $3,000 per year. We have been doing that, although we've actually only taken out the money once, and that was only $6,000 instead of $9,000, but we'll be withdrawing again in January, $9,000 hopefully. I don't know what you did with the student who, it doesn't matter. The whole reason I'm reporting is that the bad news is we needed a 5% return on that money in order to keep it going in perpetuity, and we got a 1.9% return on the money, which was shockingly bad. and I nicely, if you can believe it, berated the person responsible for investing it, who pretty much guaranteed I could get 5%. That's the bad news. The good news is the law has changed as of November of last year, so that there is more flexibility about how that money is invested if, can't believe I'm saying this, especially at 9:45, if town meeting votes to allow the whole town, and Board of Selectmen will have something to say about this, if town meeting votes to allow the whole town to invest all their money as a prudent investor. So those rules actually exist, but the town has to opt in. And I have approached Derek Sullivan because I only care about the $750,000. He cares about a lot more than that. And he is mulling it over, but he reacted constructively. So stay tuned. The only other good news is, because we have so few students who have been given it so far, it's only been 1 year, but it will be 2 years in January. We've got time to implement this before we need the 5%. And I'm sure if I haven't confused you, if I keep talking, I will. So I'll shut up unless you've got some questions.
I don't have a question about that, but I have one quick request.
A request?
Yes.
Too late.
It's
Sorry,
very
it's too
quick.
late.
It's gonna, but I'm waiting for you to be done with yours.
I'm done.
Oh, I would just like to request that at the next time there's a principal's report on the agenda, that there be a report on class sizes at the 3 schools.
Absolutely.
Is that, okay.
Okay.
Well, you're the chair, so I was looking
you're
at
saying
you.
the next principal's report?
Yeah,
class size.
not a
Absolutely.
special thing,
Thank you
just the
all.
next time the principals
Yeah,
are
just what-
reporting.
what current class size?
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
We used to get that, as a matter of fact.
as part of this, or as part
Was
of,
it part of
the budget,
Usually it's part of the budget, yeah.
which brought it up in my mind
You
today.
asked one of them. You didn't ask Dan.
I will take a motion to adjourn.
Second.
I asked Dan today, and I asked
Aye.
Sarah today.
What happened
I am going to say we are adjourned 500, yes?
Maybe
What
something
happened
a
to the
little more-
policy
yeah,
thing?
please.
Didn't
We
we?
tabled.
Something
Oh,
a
no,
little bit
it was
more,
discussed, and it will be voted on at the next meeting.
You can't vote on a policy on the same night it's introduced.
Yeah, right. If it's a new one.
Right.